Is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan, an Odyssey sports station.
Here is a toss. And on the run into the end zone, diving Malik Washington for the touchdown. What a drive.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Phillips, or rather Terry, was trying to box out Mobley and got the ball. Mitchell spins. Oh, finish by Donovan Mitchell.
He hit it with a jaw. With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Toe-to-toe, here we go. It's tapped over right to SGA. Symbolic as he fires it up to Wallace. Clock running out.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan. Good morning, happy Tuesday, everybody.
What is happening?
I got your 6.
You got my 6, I got your 6 too.
I got your 6.
We got each other 6s on the show today.
I don't think I can have Swag 6. That's not how having a 6 works.
No, I don't think we can have his 6. I also don't want his 9. I don't with what he's wearing today. I don't want his 6 or his 9. I want none of that.
We do need to.
This was her stabbing kind.
I have been Christmas shopping. I'm trying to get it done super early.
Look at you.
And I have decided that I am going to ruin your gift. I'm buying you pants that don't show me what your junk looks like, and that doesn't like have your ass suck the pants up into it.
They're so
great.
comfy, though.
We need.
They're
Should we
soft.
tweet out a picture, maybe with a blurred photo of Swag's pants today?
Do you know how to do that?
We can. I don't know. We can maybe try and figure it out. Blur out a certain area.
Like a guy that's going on TV. You know, I always thought he was kind of crazy, and it's a blurry face.
Like, what would you do if your coworker wore pants like this at least once a week? Those pants, I feel like, make an appearance once a week when we see them, and it's out there. He's loving every minute of it.
I don't know what to do. I've talked about it before. My family knows that I know what it looks like. Like, you know the scene in Horrible Bosses when Aniston sprays the water? Oh, there he is.
Oh, hello.
I don't need to do that. It's literally screaming at me, hey, I'm hanging out right here.
It's tight and uncomfortable, and you try. You try your hardest to not glance down, but it's impossible not to because he walks into the room. He's in charge. He's standing at attention, and it's like he can't help it. And then it's like, damn it, why did I just look?
Nothing standing at attention. All
I
right,
mean,
let's
the way
settle
those
down.
pants are positioned, I would actually beg to differ.
I can guarantee nothing is standing at attention.
It's not standing, but it's
sitting at attention.
It's leaning.
It's leaning
at
attention. It's leaning forward in its chair, and I want it to lean backwards. Have it recline. Damn it!
Canada loves me.
The worst
Yes,
part about
they
all
do.
this, the worst part about this for me is that I have such a raunchy, dirty sense of humor that as much as I dislike you coming in with those pants, I then just start telling myself jokes. Like, I think your penis sounds like Michael McDonald when he sings, hey, I'm here in these pants.
You don't know me, but I'm Robert.
Yeah, that's the voice I've given your penis. Because of those pants. This is your fault. I shouldn't be thinking about this at 6 a.m. I don't know. It's not even a therapy Tuesday. My therapist is off today. I don't even have therapy.
Vacation. No, I think you need it today. Can you
I'm
call
off
her?
a
Have her
week.
come back in town. She needs an emergency session, man. But now that I'm thinking about it, it definitely sings like Michael
Dude,
McDonald.
it
With
absolutely
of
sounds
all
like
the
Michael
things that it
McDonald.
could sing like, Michael McDonald is number one on the big
It's
board.
got the long hair.
Yes.
It's got the beard. Oh, I wanna love you.
Playing a little piano on the side. Like, all right, okay, all right. Break it down, Michael. I like this.
Well, happy Tuesday, everybody.
Hey, how we doing?
Did you see in the Christmas gift buying category? Did you see this story? I saw this on the Washington Post.
Yeah.
There was a story. Have you seen the previews of this new movie, Wicked, with Ariana Grande?
I have seen the previews.
The musical.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the prequel to
Yes.
Wizard
Now,
of
did
Oz.
you guys see the Broadway production when it's rolled through any number of the times it's rolled through?
No.
No, I haven't. No. I know it's a very popular play. I'm well aware.
It was great
Yes.
when it came through.
Solid.
5 years
I
ago
think
when
they
I
still
saw it or whatever.
tour. They
yes,
still
they
do the
still
show
tour. It's
and-
one of their most popular
Yes.
Broadway tours.
I have a cousin, Heard, and her daughter. They seemingly go to it every year. I understand. It's a very popular one. My kids are kind of excited for this movie. I always love a good prequel. I don't know if I'm going to like the movie, but I'm going to go watch this movie, right?
Seems like a quality holiday movie, like
Just an
family feel
easygoing-
good.
Yeah.
It's, all right, everybody knows the
Yes.
story
And
for the most
everybody
part.
does
Right.
everybody
Yeah.
know this is the prequel to The Wizard of Oz?
I think so. I think most people
Yes.
connect the dots there.
I think the
How-
trailer's fairly obvious.
How did the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch
Right.
become the good and wicked
They
witches?
seem best
Yes.
friends, but then
Yes.
how did it? Yeah, right?
What happened?
So they have made these Wicked toys to get ahead of the movie release.
Oh, action figures.
Yeah, action
We're
figures,
cashing
dolls.
in.
Absolutely. Why would you not? Have you seen what's happened though with the
No.
toys?
No, I'm out of the toy buying.
So according to this article I read, they were selling these Wicked dolls. And so, like, on them, you get, like, the green witch and the pink witch, and
Right.
it's in the box. Looks like a Barbie box, right? Standard
Sure.
thing. You buy the box, and on the box, it says, for more toys and accessories.
There's a QR code.
Nope.
Oh.
Well, there is a QR code, but
Yeah.
also there's a www.wicked.com.
No.
The problem is
Oh,
the
no.
toy manufacturer and the company did not properly print out that website is a porn website. And so it's supposed to be wickedtoys.com and instead has been sending children
Oh, no.
to porn sites.
Oh, no.
Yes.
This is not good.
Yes.
I feel like we had one of these when we were younger that I feel like, and listeners correct me if I'm wrong on this, I feel like whitehouse.com used to also be a porn site. And that was one that people used to stumble across of like, let's go see what the government's up to. And that ended up leading you to very naughty and bad things.
Mattel had to publicly apologize and
Sorry.
immediately try to read.
Now, what kind of porn are we talking about on Wicked? Is it like, are we soft? Are we hard? Are we, is it
We're
intense
into
stuff? Is it
Rex
Jason
Ryan
Swigart
stuff.
sweatpants? Like, what are we doing here,
A lot of feet.
Is
What are
it-
we doing?
Is it bad?
Dare I visit right now?
I think you should check it out. I think you need to do a little show research.
In the interest of our listeners.
I think so. Like, what
All
are we
right, I'm gonna
sending
go to
our
the private
children?
incognito window.
The children of our youth, where are we sending them? Is this, scarring them for life? Or is
I'm
it
actually
like,
not going to do this.
why is there a pool cue in there? What's going on? I didn't know you could do that. Is that a cucumber? What's happening?
Dad?
I like this. No, damn
It's like when Cartman finds out
Shut
what
down
his
the
mom
laptop.
did long time ago.
Close it down now.
Who is Eric Cartman's dad? It's his mom.
What? I'm so confused.
I was too young, and I had to have that explained to me.
Quite
What's
honest,
happening
I'm a
here?
little confused right now. This doesn't make any sense. We're not connecting any dots.
And you know whose fault this is? Your sweatpants. This got us down this awful rabbit hole. It's 6:05 a.m.
I'm pretty sure if you go to that website, there's a picture of Jason Swigart just standing there with like his hands on his hips, like maybe a Superman kind of pose, with the hips slightly thrusted forward, not leaning back, slightly thrusted forward, hands on hips, shirtless too. He's got to be shirtless in that photo.
Poll question: does Jason Swigart's junk sound like Michael McDonald singing when it talks?
That is a great poll question to start the show.
That is
and
so
it's
out
gonna
of context.
confuse the hell out of people.
Ratings skyrocketing this morning.
That's not the only thing skyrocketing this morning.
No.
There are no skyrockets in flight this morning.
None at all over there.
You came in pretty excited. You're going to Mac Court today.
Yeah, we get the same basketball game.
Yeah, you
playing
want to have some fun tonight.
at the same time on two different stations. Ducks versus Pilots on 1080. Ducks versus Pilots on 910.
I would argue you should tune in actually the reverse way of how you may think. I would tune in to 910 for the pre and the start, and then go to like late first, and then all of second go to Joey. Because he'll have the energy, the excitement, the
right out of
enthusiasm.
the gate. I'm in a big arena. We're
Yeah.
playing a Big Ten team.
He's going to lie to you about
Yes.
this freshman's done this. They're shooting this from this corner. And
What are the keys to the game? I got to get my keys to the game in the pregame.
and he's going to be
got to
lying
rebound.
out his tight ass this morning tonight. But he knows what's coming tonight.
Are those tight sweatpants going to be courtside at Matthew Knight
No,
Arena tonight?
no. There will be a wardrobe
Okay.
change.
Class
We
it
will
up a little
be.
bit.
That's too
we will be
bad.
Natalie attired.
I'd love for you to be the broadcast guy that wears the uncomfortable sweatpants and you're just sliding. Excuse me.
Wiggling into your seat on
Wiggling
press row.
behind.
Hello, coming through. I think a butt cheek just made contact
Right
with me.
next-
Damn
right
it,
there.
Jason.
Right next to the stat crew
Get
at
that
Matt
thing
Knight
off
Arena.
of my shoulder, man. God.
I'm just here. Call a basketball game.
I feel like we need Michael McDonald to rejoin our music now the rest of the show.
You'll never be able to look at him again without
I'm
thinking
a
about Michael
Yamo
McDonald.
burn this bitch to the ground if I hear Michael McDonald one more time, man. One
That's
more
what his
time.
wife says.
Turn it off, Jason. Turn it off. God. I can't handle this anymore.
I want to
I think I
believe.
probably put my foot in my mouth.
I want to believe it looks like Michael McDonald too. He's got like a little tuxedo. Like, oh, I'm just here, having a good time. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
I never thought in a million years that's where we would start the show today.
Are you okay over there? Just like a little penguin suit. Oh, I'm just hanging out. This is your fault. You shouldn't have worn those pants.
Yeah, it's got to be a poll question, as people say, not a poll question, a poll question, if you catch the drift.
You're in
there.
charge of those
ULE.
poll
We
questions.
get our poll question
Okay, I'll
out
do it.
early this morning. Does Jason Swigard's unit.
Boy, this time of year, poll question usually refers to Santa Claus, and that is not what we're talking about.
Here's the situation.
I think the segment is almost over.
Yeah,
We think.
we think.
We
It
think.
could be. I don't know.
By the
we
way,
think.
Fan Merch Locker. There's new merch up there, and
Yeah,
that
get your
is
long
the new
sleeve
merch.
tee right now, baby.
This is a whole new idea that we need a T-shirt of.
A Michael McDonald.
I think we need a picture of Swag standing in his sweatpants with like a Michael McDonald head on his crotch.
No, I don't.
Like just a little
Might be
head down there.
trademarked. I don't know.
That could be TM. Let's call him up, see if it's okay. Maybe we can get clearance to put that picture on the
Oh, my
sweatpants
God.
on his crotch.
It's an
and then
awful visual.
Maybe a Michael McDonald famous quote on the back or something like that in a
I
singing
don't think we're
voice.
helping the boss feel any better this morning.
I don't think the boss is listening at 6:10
Is he
a.m.
up?
Oh,
Is he
you're
up this
always
morning?
surprised.
Yeah,
Really?
he's up and listening.
Well, now he can't stop thinking about the fact that you have a little Michael McDonald.
He's going to walk into the office today. He's going to see those sweatpants, and he's going to think the same exact thing.
Well, it's a good show today, I think. I hope.
Should be.
Feeling good. Drove in. I missed every light, and I thought I was cooking turkey bacon at 4:40 a.m. Turns out my stove wasn't on.
Oh,
so
that's a good thing.
got in late, and I'm like, awesome. Always great to start the day a little late.
I had two different people driving 7 miles an hour below the speed limit on the freeway this morning, and
Yeah, you're
I'd
not
rather-
a speed demon either.
I'm not a speed demon.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that'll get me. If there's nobody, if your flow of traffic going 49 and a 55, like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to
Were they in
ride
the
your
right
ass.
lane, though?
They were at least in the right lane.
Okay.
But can we go? Is it
You can't be going that much
Look,
slower.
Go
it's
drive
dark,
the speed
it's
limit.
wet. There's
It's not that way.
wet
It was not
leaves,
raining.
there's-
It
wasn't
no,
raining.
it was on the freeway. There's no leaves on the freeway.
You've lived here your whole life.
You can go 55. We can find a way to muster 55. You go 55, I'm not going to ride your ass. You go 48, 49, I'm on your tail.
Well, let's get it going. We got a mail sack to get to at 8:15. No therapy today. You can use it as Therapy Tuesday if you want. I don't have therapy today.
It definitely has a Michael McDonald little gray beard, too.
Oh, dude,
definitely.
it definitely does. Why is that pube right there?
A little itchy.
How does it grow?
Gotta cut that back, man.
Cut my beard.
Get the trimmers.
Get the mail sack questions in to the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. They shoot you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. We'll get to that at 8:15. Bill Conley's going to join us, college football national writer, wrote a really good piece yesterday on ESPN.com. He'll join us for some SP Plus, some college football playoff ranking. I'm quite excited. I don't like the ranking they're doing this week because I don't like the venue they do it at.
Yeah, we got the in-between basketball game on tonight.
But have you seen the games?
No, I have not.
I'm actually kind of excited. These are some spicy little games.
We got good matchups today. Am I watching college hoops tonight? Is that what you're telling me?
You got Cooper Flag versus Kansas.
Oh, I'm in
Yeah.
on that.
Yes.
Definitely in on that.
We got a Knipple against the Jayhawks. I'm all
Yes.
in on that.
Yeah.
Sounds
and then
fun.
What's the first Michigan State?
Michigan State and it's a ranked team. It's a good
Yes.
team. I'm
Littering
blanking.
in, littering
Blanking,
in,
blanking.
littering
That's
in.
the first game.
That sounds like a great game.
Damn it.
I can't wait to watch
Hang
that one.
on.
I saw it last night. I was like,
Michigan
oh.
State is playing Kansas
Kansas,
tonight.
Michigan
Oh,
State.
Duke
And
is
then
playing Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. I appreciate the correction there. I am excited about both those games, so I don't like that they do the ranking from a gym and it's way too loud, but I do like these two
Yes,
games.
5:30-ish.
Yeah. And I'll
is
catch the
when
first
the
half of the
rankings.
Duck game because I'm not staying up for the whole thing.
That should be all you
it's
need to
it's
see.
a late night.
Yeah,
You-
8
you
o'clock start. What are
You
we
got
doing?
Jordan. Well, the Big Ten
It's
Network.
an 8 o'clock start tonight.
8 p.m. on the
8
Big Ten Network.
p.m.
So he's not working tomorrow.
Yeah, you get Jordan
I'm not
tomorrow.
catching the first half of the game.
Really?
No, I don't need to watch them against the Pirates.
Yeah, first
No
10
offense.
minutes, they'll be up 20. That's
Yeah,
it. That's all she wrote.
Okay, good night. See you later.
All right, well, let's get it going. Dirt and Sprague, good to be with you. Get the mail sack questions in. Bill Conley at 7:30. Let's start next on The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Now, sadly, I think people think Warren G when they hear this one.
I always love blowing people's minds when you hear the original version of rap songs. Like, wait, what? That was a song before? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was sampled, man. Michael McDonald, I mean, he's got some bangers back in the day.
Here's the situation.
Can all see it, can't you?
I don't want to see it.
What if somebody's just turning on the radio right now? It's like, what is happening? Why are we just listening to Michael McDonald? What is going on? Guys, talk about Monday Night Football. What are you doing?
Oh, man. Now I can't not see it anytime you come in with those pants.
Somebody said you kept saying Michael McDonald, and I kept picturing Norm McDonald every time you said that. Norm McDonald would have been funny, too. He seems like more of a musician, though, than a comedian.
Yeah,
I think he's singing some tunes.
He's bluesy, jazzy vibe.
Yes, he's not making jokes over there.
Yeah, that Monday Night Football game, blue chunks, man. Yikes. Oh.
It's so far a masterpiece, if I do say so myself.
That game was. We're gonna get to it later because there was somebody who had a clip that went viral that had a lot of NFL people responding to it yesterday about just the overall product of the NFL right now. That game was terrible. Just awful.
Yeah, you can't give me like closeness of the score. That was not a good
zero
game.
Argument for why that was a compelling. That was I have Monday Night Football on in the background. I'm walking around the house doing things, checking the score and saying, "Oh, okay, Miami's up. All right, cool. That's great. I don't need to see the Rams kick 17 field goals. That's all right. I'll pass on that."
Yeah. I mean, I certainly understand that. I was doing an art day yesterday with my kids. We're making dioramas, Christmas dioramas, and I missed about half of the second quarter.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
And that's when I turned it on and went, "Oh, I didn't miss anything." That's
no,
awesome.
No. You missed 3 field goals is what you missed. A combined 3 field goals between the two teams.
I actually don't want to waste a whole segment on that god-awful game. I just ask you, what are the Rams?
I don't know, man. They have weeks where they look like, hey, that could be a playoff team, and then weeks where they struggle to move the football against the Miami Dolphins, who are 2-6 when they come to town.
Yeah, but I think we said the first part when they beat the Seahawks, who are crap.
Yeah, I mean, the Niner win when they came back and shouldn't have won that game. They beat Minnesota, remember, at home, and Minnesota was undefeated at the time.
That was kind of the start of the Minnesota not being
definitely
how
was.
They started. In the Niner game, certainly they got that win, but
and they probably should have lost to the Seahawks, to be honest
they
with
should have
you.
lost the Niner game.
Probably should have lost that game as well. They're kind of stuck in no man's land where they have been so decimated by injuries. I still think if healthy, they could have a good offense, but the receivers, I know they're back now, but they missed a big chunk of the year. They have more. I think the stat was floating around yesterday. The majority of their team is third-round draft picks or later or undrafted, more than any team in the NFL. Like it's a lot of unproven young guys and a lot of banged-up guys and an offense that doesn't really have an identity right now, which is weird because the receivers are finally back and healthy.
I think Stafford, I wouldn't be shocked if he retired. I have Stafford as my fantasy quarterback, which has been terrible when Kupp and Nakua were out.
He's not having a very good year.
God, he's having a bad year.
9 touchdowns and 7 picks.
And some of that is injuries, and he was really good in that Seahawk game when he needed to be.
He was.
But it's like so up and down that I wouldn't be overly shocked if he retired at the end of the year.
He's 36 years old.
Yeah.
Think about the wear and tear that guy's been through, too, and all the injuries that he played through during the time in Detroit and even the time in L.A. Remember, he had like the spinal thing 2 years ago. He thought his career was over.
Well, remember his playoff game last year in Detroit? It was, or not, was that last year or was that the year before?
I believe that was last year.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm blanking already. But it felt like he took so many big shots.
Yeah,
like,
they lost
in
in Detroit
playing
in the wild card round, 24-23. They damn near beat the Lions.
He threw some darts in that game, too.
He did. He's a gamer. I mean, I gave you the hot take after week 1. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. It would be a shame to see it end this way. This would be kind of a bummer.
This is usually how it goes, though.
It is usually how it goes, where you just kind of peter out and your team's not very good. He's older and just it was unfortunate. That game was terrible last night.
Little news out of Chicago. It is announced that Shane Waldron is no longer the offensive coordinator for the Bears.
I'm shocked. Yeah. Who could have seen this coming?
Luke Getsy fired last year.
Shocked.
And Waldron out this year.
How did Waldron do when he was in Seattle? How did that? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think that players were celebrating quite literally when he was gone.
Yeah, I don't. who's going to call plays now would be my question. Your head coach is a defensive head coach, so that's unique. And what a way to start a rookie quarterback number 1 overall pick's career. You just fired his offensive coordinator barely halfway through a season, his first year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now let's get some new terminology in there. I can't wait for their head coach to be fired. What a horrible organization, and should have seen this coming.
Thought they had all the mojo with the Hard Knocks and the DJ Moore contract story. That was cool.
They fleeced the Panthers.
They
Wow,
fleeced
the Bears. Oh, my God, what a trade.
Yeah, you know who's won the last 2 weeks? The Panthers. You know who hasn't? The Bears.
I mean, I think the Panthers are creeping up on having the same win total as them, are they not?
I think they're...
Panthers have 3, the Bears have 4.
There you go.
We're 1 win away from matching the
that?
Chicago Bears win total.
So Waldron is out. I don't know what that means for the Bears. They don't have an offensive line. We got some NFL factoid Tuesday to get to at the bottom of the hour that I'll get to, but I just wanted to pass along that news this morning that just came out during the break.
What are you waiting for the head coach anyways? Just rip the Band-Aid off and get it done. There's no chance that Matt Eberflus is the head coach of the Chicago Bears next year.
Yeah, there needs to be bigger questions in Chicago of not just Eberflus. Why?
We're just I mean, the OC hasn't been great. I'm not acknowledging that Shane Waldron's done an incredible job there.
Why didn't they fire Eberflus? Is the
clean house right there. That feels necessary after you scored 3 points at home to the New England Patriots. Let's restart this.
That'll be 3 straight first round top pick quarterbacks for your Chicago Bears. That they have fired the coach after the first year of the kid's career, and the OC, and gotten a new coach and OC going into their second season. 3 straight.
I mean, we're going to play some audio today, and we'll get to another coach who's having a really good first year. They could have hired Jim Harbaugh.
I don't know. I'm not. I have audio, yes, so we need to get to it and talk about it.
He's a Bears legend. He could have come in with the number 1 overall pick, drafted whichever quarterback he wanted. Maybe.
Was also a Charger quarterback, and I think he wanted to live in L.A. He lived in Michigan for a long time. I think he wanted that sunny beach RV
I think
life.
Jim Harbaugh likes cold weather. I think he'd prefer to live in 27 and snow.
You get older,
makes
you get
him
colder.
tougher. He wants that whole milk, not that candy ass sunshine in
he
LA.
chose LA.
You don't want that 80-degree weather. It's
Don't
soft.
you think if Harbaugh wanted Chicago, they would have reacted as such? Because I do. I think he's that kind of coach. I think he was always wanting Herbert and the Chargers.
Look, I'm not saying that Herbert was definitely the right call, because no matter who they were taking with the number 1 overall pick was unproven, and Herbert's proven. So you're getting a proven commodity over a guy that you need to ultimately develop. I'm also not going to give the Bears the benefit of the doubt there. They're incompetent, and I don't think they even kicked the tires on it. I don't think they made any phone calls. They decided their zaddy head coach was going to be the answer because, hey, we won 7 games last year, and this will solve things, and they whiffed completely.
Very quickly, before we go to NFL Factoid Tuesday, anybody else wake up with the same kind of fervor and excitement as me? Swag, did you wake up and you're like, oh, my God, it's November 12th. It's NBA Cup Day. No?
No.
Oh.
No.
Dirt?
Hee, Magic Johnson.
It's the Emirates Cup.
I got my cup fever on today.
Do you?
Yeah. Let's cup check
Cup
each other.
check.
Cup check time.
No?
I know Swag's not wearing a cup.
No, I'm well aware he's not wearing a cup.
0 protective measures taken over there for Cup Day.
They don't make cups shaped like that.
No, they do not. A little too pointy. I think cups are a little more round and flat.
There's some round areas over there. I don't know what's happening. He's eating his own pants.
I love that the NBA has the Klay Thompson return to Golden State game tonight. And somebody tried to ask Draymond Green about that yesterday, and he shut down the question and said, "No, this isn't the Klay return game. This is a cup game.
Yeah,
so we're getting our cup on tonight."
Well, the Blazers are hosting their cup game. They've got the cup floor today. Have you seen it?
I have not seen our cup floor.
Look on Twitter if you can, or online anywhere. If you go look,
Blazers cup floor.
Blazers NBA cup floor.
It looks better than last year.
Sure.
I mean, they're not great. I don't love
okay.
them. But
the NBA Cup is something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you see it?
I see it. Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's different.
How much are we going to lose by tonight? What's the point spread on the cup game
8.5.
8.5?
It's only 8.5. They just got waxed by that team on Friday?
Well,
that feels too easy, doesn't it? That feels
like a
way too easy.
It was 9 when I got in this morning. It's 8.5 right now.
Where is the trap? What trap is Chauncey laying tonight?
Ant and Aiden are going off tonight.
This is the night.
I mean, they quite literally can't shoot worse than they shot from
4
3.
for 42.
I mean, they
for 42.
They'll at least be 8 for 37.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
They should
they're not going to shoot that badly.
I mean, I would argue that they just played a pretty decent game in Minnesota the other night and
lost by
22.
Yeah,
and I actually thought they played okay in that game.
For the most part.
I was like,
and they got out of hand
wasn't
a little bit.
wasn't terrible.
Is this one a K2 game or is this
No, this is a 2.2.
2.2er?
Dude, my satellite's been crapping out my antenna's been crapping out last 3 games.
You got to go stand outside. Have your wife stand outside during the second half of the Cup game.
Well, I haven't-
Antenna pointed towards the sky.
That seems dangerous. I haven't messed with an antenna since I was like 11 at my uncle's house playing with rabbit ears.
Yeah.
And I was
do
doing
the
that.
tinfoil flags on the end of the rabbit ears.
Throw a little tinfoil on that thing. Thanks, Jody. This is how I got to watch Blazer games now. Thank you.
Do you have NBA Cup fever at Dirt and Sprague? Yes or no? I should add Emirates in there. The Emirates.
Yeah,
See, I don't think-
sponsored now.
I don't think I love how much they want to be soccer that now Emirates is the sponsor of this. I don't even think it should be, should you have Cup fever? I think the question should be, did you know the NBA Cup started today?
Oh, that's rude. Everybody's had it on their calendar for months.
That should be what
Come on, November 12th is the day.
Wait, what? What's the in-season cup?
No, I have more fever for seeing how long the Cavs can
They're
go undefeated.
Yeah.
Won again last night.
12-0.
Yeah, the
Pretty good
Bulls
run.
gave them a game. The Bulls
are
were
a feisty bad team.
were up for it.
Yeah.
And then Spida and Garland took over late.
Please don't do that ever again.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be said again.
No.
Who is your pick for the NBA Cup?
I mean, how do you not go with the give me the Golden State Warriors?
The Lakers aren't going to be the defending champs.
I don't think they're going to be the defending champs. I don't think they're hanging a banner again this year.
All right, that's too bad. Warriors are a hot pick. NBA Cup fever, feel it. NFL Factoid Tuesday is next on the Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by PG Long Floor Covering, carpet, hardwood, or laminate flooring cleaning or restoration. Call PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts, pglongllc.com. First on the Fan, with the number 3 and number 4 ranked teams in last week's college football playoff rankings, both losing over the weekend. There's much curiosity to see what the committee will do in week 2. After Oregon holds its number 1 slot, those rankings will be announced tonight, 5:30 on ESPN. Dolphins kept Matthew Stafford and his Rams out of the end zone Monday night. That allowed Miami to keep its faint wild card hopes alive with a 23-15 win to Tagovailoa. A pair of touchdown passes in the victory. This from Adam Schefter of ESPN this morning. Shane Waldron out as offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. Chauncey Billups hopes to have a restless Blazers squad show up tonight for the first of a back-to-back with the Minnesota Timberwolves at Moda Center. 7:10 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 or 302 on Comcast Xfinity. Portland 8.5-point underdogs. Elsewhere in the NBA Monday night, Cavs extended their franchise record season-opening winning streak to 12 games, holding off the Bulls 119-113. Donovan Mitchell with 36. Thunder without Chet Holmgren for a couple of months got 45 from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they beat the Clippers 134-128. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Dirt was just telling me that Joel Klatt's fighting the entire Big Ten. We'll get to that today. Turns out America doesn't like this, and they let him know it, and he doesn't agree with it.
I think TV viewers like it. The fan bases that have to go through it hate it, and it seems to be the same two teams every week.
That's exactly how I would say I describe myself, as I wouldn't go to that game.
No.
I'll watch it all day.
I'm sitting at home. This is great. I want football all day.
Let's get to NFL Factoid Tuesday. Should be a good one. All right, let me...
Ready to get my facts on.
Sorry, I got a good list here. Put it together.
I got a bonus one for you, too, just in case you miss it.
Oh, okay. I'll start. Tim Kawakami, San Francisco Standard. The 49ers outgained their opponents by 979 yards, an average of 108.8 yards per game. It'd be the third highest since 2010.
Woo!
They're 5-4.
That's what happens when you lose games you have no business losing, and the Niners have done that multiple times this year. The Rams game, they had no business losing, and the Cardinal game, they had no business losing. I mean, this is a 5-4 team that should be 7-2.
The Chicago Bears have 23 straight drives without a touchdown.
What's the NFL record? That's a fun follow-up that somebody should look up. What's the record for most consecutive drives without a touchdown?
Has to be a mid-90s Bengals team or a Tampa Bay team.
See if I can find that. That is so bad.
Josh Dubois of the AP says the Lions have won 7 straight. It's the first time they've done that since 1995. The last time they won 8 straight, 1934.
That's when Swag was 13, man. He remembers it well. The NFL record, 29 drives.
So 6 drives in the next game, they tie the record.
It was held by the Vikings. I don't know. It doesn't say
Vikings.
what year the Vikings was.
That's too bad.
Better be back in the Fran Tarkington years.
Weren't they good with Fran, though? Didn't they go to Super
They were,
Bowls?
but then there was, I think before they got good, when Fran's rookie year, whatever, he was just running for his
Caleb
life.
told his punter before the year, get used to not kicking. He's punted 45 times.
He's still painting his nails for every game. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Does it say bear on?
I think it says
BEAR?
one says bear, the other says punt.
I would say down.
What are you going to do today? Punt. I'm going to punt 13 times. This on the sky cam flies over the huddle. What are you going to do on this drive, Caleb? Punt.
4th and 2. Do you trust it?
Yep, punt.
This one from Joe Reedy of the LA Associated Press. According to Football Reference, Justin Herbert is just the 7th quarterback since the merger and the 2nd Chargers quarterback to have a passer rating of 90 or more in the first 9 games.
You like that? He's having a hell of a year, man.
That's my guy.
It's my guy having a hell of a year. I think there's a stretch now, basically over the last month or so, where Pro Football Focus doesn't have him graded as the highest quarterback in the NFL, like the number 1 player in the NFL. That's how good he's been playing.
He's our guardian of victory.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is, Jim. Really? Nobody. Really fun stretch coming up for them, man. Back-to-back games on primetime. You get Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Really fun. Bengals and Ravens the next 2 weeks, both at home, a.k.a. both road games, will be a lot of fun.
I pulled Harbaugh audio last night, and I just watched, and I went, it's good for Swag. His old team is dealing with blinding issues in the sun, and Jerry Jones is an idiot.
Exactly.
And I question the Charger pick, but it's fun with Harbaugh, man.
No, it's fun. You
a
knew
lot
this
more
year
fun.
was going to be a transition year, but you wanted to see him continuing to get better, and I think it's happening a little bit faster. And if they upset somebody in the first round of the playoffs, what a great
They're
year.
getting sub a field goal this weekend at home.
Yeah,
they are.
Just saying.
I would say just getting to the playoffs this year with everything they went through last year, all the guys that were gone, the weapons that they have on the outside, hell of a start to the Harbaugh era.
Rob Motti, NFL writer, says the Eagles have won 3 straight road games by 20-plus for the first time in franchise history. The last time they did this, or the last time they did it with at least 2 times, they won the Super Bowl, 48 and 49.
They did, and some of those wins, I mean, the Bengals one was impressive. The other wins, you just, what are we doing here?
Taking care of business is what they're doing.
You are. I don't know if I view them as a Super Bowl contender, and maybe I'm way out to lunch on that.
With the way the NFC is right now?
I just don't trust Nick Sirianni, man, and I don't trust their quarterback
Give
either.
me the teams you do trust then.
I mean, it's not that long of a list. That's fair.
Well, rattle them off for me.
In the NFC, teams that I would take to beat
No, teams that you think can go to the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Detroit for sure.
Yeah.
I still think San Francisco's in there.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Wow.
That's all I got.
Okay.
I don't trust their coach and I don't trust their quarterback, but they're beating the crap out of really bad teams.
Both have been there.
They both have been there. They have.
This one from Steve Palazzolo. The Packers were held without an offensive touchdown twice in 239 games in which Aaron Rodgers has played more than a half. The Jets have been held without an offensive touchdown twice in his last 7 starts with the Jets.
They're going to turn the corner, though. I think that loss will wake them up to Arizona this weekend. I think now's the time when the Jets turn on the afterburners.
Who didn't cash their bet on that? That's one of the worst lines I've seen all year.
Sharps loved the Jets this weekend,
Sharps
too.
are idiots.
Which made it even funnier.
Idiots.
And Mike Williams scored the game-winning touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but wasn't good enough for Aaron Rodgers.
From Tony Escarena-Holzman of NFL Research, the Chiefs have not allowed a single point when trailing in the fourth quarter this season. They've won 9 straight games when trailing by 7+, which is the longest in NFL history.
They're almost going on a calendar year without losing a game. I think their last loss was Christmas Day, if I'm not mistaken.
15 straight games.
To the Raiders in the regular season. You can give me any stat you want. Nobody can beat them. Doesn't matter.
If the Broncos can't beat them in that spot, I'm kind of just believing they can't lose, even though they play Buffalo this weekend.
Buffalo on the road. They're getting points on the road.
I don't want to.
They're an underdog this weekend.
My instincts were take Buffalo.
And
what am I doing?
No, don't. No. Plus money, Kansas City. You get that bet once a year.
God. Let's carry this over. I've got more NFL factoids I want to get to, and I want to respect the business and the entity of our clocks here. We're old-timey radio, AM radio. We're hanging out. NFL Factoid Tuesday rolls over next on 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
We have a lot to get to in the top of the hour. Bill Conley's going to join us on the bottom for the ticker. We'll talk some college football. The playoff rankings are released. Week 2 of the rankings from the committee. I would like to publicly apologize. I was wrong about something. Dirt was right. You are correct in the assessment of usually they do not allow teams to be ranked ahead of other teams that have beaten them.
Oh, the head-to-head thing?
And so it's going to be fascinating. Does Georgia fall from 3 below 9?
What do you do with
how much higher does Bama rise, given we had Miami lose, Georgia lose? It's going to be interesting to see how the rankings shake out tonight.
The trio of 2-loss teams between Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama is the most interesting thing about the rankings tonight. Where do they sit? Who are they ahead of? Are they ahead of?
Bama has to be ahead of all 3 because they have the head-to-head Georgia, and they don't have a worse loss than Ole Miss's Kentucky loss.
No, they don't. Vanderbilt's not a great loss, but it's not worse than Kentucky. Although you're kind of splitting hairs a little bit.
But who would?
Kentucky was at home.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt was on the
we're
road.
splitting hairs,
You're
whatever.
splitting hairs at that point. But are they ahead of Miami?
No,
are all 3 of them ahead
that
of
was
Miami?
Miami's first loss.
It was.
Yeah.
Miami also doesn't have anything to show in terms of a win.
What? Cal on the road late night
In a game they should have
down
lost.
25.
The ACC saved them.
I also have an argument that I heard yesterday that was a good point of did a player lose this past weekend in college and make a better case for his Heisman campaign? Think about that one.
Okay, I'll noodle that.
It may have swayed me, and I'm like, damn it, I never thought about that.
That's a good little argument.
Let's roll on with NFL Factoid Tuesday. Thank you, Michael McDonald. Mark Dalton, media relations for Arizona, says for the 3rd straight home game, the Cardinals did not allow a touchdown. The last time that happened was 98 years ago.
Ooh, buddy. That was a long time ago.
Cardinal defense. Feisty.
They're playing good football. Look at the wins, and they keep stacking up. They're in first place in the division.
I don't like to say this to be overly dramatic on the radio. I'm saying this sincerely. I am stunned that you only have 1.5 to 2 teams winning the NFC.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
You don't think the Eagles can win it?
I don't.
No,
I don't. I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
He doesn't think anybody but the Lions and the Niners are going to win the NFC.
I think we get an NFC title rematch.
Man. Caleb Williams is on track to be sacked 72 times, which would be an NFL record.
What's the previous record? David Carr?
I think it's David Carr.
Got to be close to that.
The Texans, I think.
Expansion, franchise, all that nonsense. Yeah. It's a miracle that he's even still playing, to be honest with you, for how much he's been hit. And how many times he's been knocked to the ground. There's even times where there's clips going around where his offensive linemen aren't helping him up.
The defenders are.
The defensive linemen who hit him for the 37th time in that game are helping him off the ground, and everybody's like, what are we doing, Chicago?
The Dallas Cowboys had 6 points and 5 turnovers. They had 49 passing yards and 40 penalty yards.
Yeah. This is why look, the Eagles have okay wins this year. I'm not over yet. You beat Cooper Rush and Trey. The Cowboys are a disgrace to the NFL right now.
The Eagles win at Cincy, far more impressive.
Far more impressive than what they did this weekend.
The Vikings ran 39 plays in the red zone and scored 12 points. They became the first team since 2006 to win with 3 turnovers and no touchdowns. And their new addition, Cam Robinson, allowed a career-high 11 pressures on 42 dropbacks, according to Next Gen Stats.
It's a good start for your new left tackle. I'd like to submit
Not
that
a
into
good sign for Doug Peterson.
No. I'd like to submit that into the Smithsonian for maybe the worst football game of all time.
That was awful.
That game was – there was nothing good about that football game.
The Giants-Panthers game was better than that game.
I don't even know if it's close. It's not even in the same ballpark.
What about that Colts-Broncos game on Sunday night?
I think I'd take that.
What about that Panthers-Bears game a couple of years ago? Remember that one? That crap game?
I don't remember that one.
Mike Williams, you mentioned him. He caught the go-ahead touchdown for Pittsburgh in D.C. Did you know he had more yards on that play than he did in 3 games with the Jets?
I mean, a play like that almost sums up everything about the Jets, does it not? Like, he goes to Pittsburgh, catches a game-winning touchdown. His quarterback tried to railroad him and throw him under the bus a month ago, which is a horrible look to do publicly when you're supposed to be the leader in the locker room. Then you go on McAfee 2 days later, and you're like, no, I didn't do any of that. We're handling stuff internally. It's like, yeah, you did after the game. We all saw the press conference. You added Devontae Adams like that was going to fix your issues. What are we doing here?
I'm keeping an eye on something here. It's the third eye, but I'm keeping an eye. The Jets are floundering. He's going to eventually blame somebody else. Trump's announcing staff hires right now. Keep an eye on what old number 8's going to do in New York.
I'm going to go work for the federal government.
2 games left? It's over here? Yeah, I'm out. RFK's calling.
Might as well sit me down. I'm going to go take over Department of Health.
The vaccine department for America. With a minimum of 3 starts, Russell Wilson has the 3rd best passer rating. He has more completions, yards, and touchdowns on throws 20-plus yards down the field than Justin Fields had, who has 3 more starts than Russell Wilson.
That's bananas. There's 2 quarterback moves that have happened this year. One couldn't have been more wrong on. One, I feel like, at least as of now, couldn't have been more right on. And those were the Steelers benching Justin Fields. Couldn't have been more wrong. Russell Wilson has unlocked their offense. He looks great. How long will it last? I don't know. But for right now, he's playing really high-level football. They're in first place in the division. Got some very interesting games coming up, starting with the Ravens this weekend in a big-time divisional showdown at home. And then the other side of that is Joe Flacco and what he's done with the Colts. It never made sense to me. Not a guarantee that you're going to win with him. And not only are you losing, you're also hindering the growth of your young quarterback. So couldn't have been more wrong about Russ in Pittsburgh, and I feel vindicated in Indianapolis.
Steelers are a 3-point home dog, by the way.
Yeah.
Tomlin as a home dog is sensational.
Yes,
Just keep that in mind.
Yes, he is.
Dominic Foxworth says you can't trust Russell Wilson and what they're doing. He's just throwing jump balls up.
I mean, it's a good defense to go. The Ravens have, I believe, the worst pass defense in the NFL, or one of the. Their pass defense is horrible.
I'm contemplating betting the over in that game.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
He's unlocked Pickens, too.
Highsmith got hurt late in that game as well. I didn't see an update on him, but he went down late in that Commanders game.
Mike Renner writes that Joe Mixon's 46 yards on 25 carries is the lowest yardage total for a player with at least 25 carries since 2013.
Ooh, buddy, that's not good.
It's good defensive performance by Detroit.
You got to be able to run the ball in the second half when you got a lead, man. They had a big-time lead in that game, kept throwing picks, and you could not run the football to milk the clock. You got to be balanced offensively to win in the NFL, and they couldn't do it.
The Chargers allowed 20-plus points 9 different times last season. They still haven't allowed any team to score 20 or more once in their 9 games.
I think they finally did hit an over of 40, though, didn't they, with that garbage time touchdown at the very end with 2 seconds to go on the clock or whatever it was. That game got off to a weird start and then quickly settled into, oh, that's right, the Chargers are going to win
There was a fumble throw situation late in the first half that the Titans scooped and scored, but they said Herbert was throwing, and so that did change the momentum of everything. I was in my car driving home because the afternoon slate sucked. And I was laughing because I knew I had won that bet for Sprague and Line, but I was also laughing because I was doing the whole, the under, always bet the under. And then the guy literally is like, and Calvin Ridley scores a touchdown. Titans, 17.
Fun challenge the next 2 weeks to find out how good the Chargers defense actually is. Like, the numbers-wise, they're great. They seem like a little bit of a paper tiger right now. Like, their last 3 quarterbacks played, or whatever the hell's going on in Tennessee.
Will Levis was this weekend.
Jameis Winston in Cleveland the week prior, and then I believe they played, was it Rattler that got the start for New Orleans in that game? Because it wasn't Carr, not that matters, but they played a backup or a third-string quarterback in New Orleans. So their defense, statistically speaking, one of the best in the NFL. They were good against Kansas City earlier this year, but Kansas City's not really lighting people up. Now you get Joe Burrow, who is having an unbelievable season, and then maybe a 3-time MVP in Lamar Jackson the week after that.
According to CBS Sports, Kyler Murray is the only quarterback since 1950 to have a passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, 90% completion percentage, and win the game.
Very wrong on the Cardinals this year, man. Very wrong on the Cardinals.
But you don't buy them.
I don't buy them as a contender, no.
The 8-2 start, according to Bills PR, is their best start through 10 games since 1993.
Ooh, buddy.
Remind me what they did in 1993.
I believe they lost
Went
a
to
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl to lose.
Aha.
Was that the first of 4? Was that wide right?
No,
I think that wasn't the first of 4.
I thought wide right was 90.
If that was 93, 94 would have been Niners and Chargers, and then 95 would have been
the first.
Okay.
Yeah, that might have been the last.
Yeah, it might have been actually.
Might have been the last one.
Yeah, you might be right there. The Bengals are 4-6 following their loss last week to Baltimore. They currently have the NFL passing leader, receiving leader, and sack leader.
And they can't run the football, and their defense is one of the worst in the NFL.
They might have the MVP, the Opoy, and the depoy,
No.
and they're 4-6. It's unbelievable what's happening.
That's a
in
weird one.
Cincinnati.
Bengals 5-0 against the spread on the road. Chargers 4-0 against the spread at home.
Something's got to give.
This is of the most desperate. Cincinnati can't lose this game.
No.
But, the Chargers are not bad. So I'll be interested to see what happens there.
Fun Sunday night game.
The Titans have allowed the most points per game, 26.7 for the hold on. They've allowed the most points per game, 26.7. They have the number one total defense, which is the highest in NFL history for the number one total defense.
How is that even possible?
That
does not make
weirdest
sense.
team in the football.
How are you giving up points, but you have the number
Well,
one?
you're turning it over a lot and giving teams short
yardage.
fields.
I guess that could.
Yeah, so they're
compute.
scoring, but they're not giving up a lot of yardage throughout the game. It's a weird stat.
A weird stat.
And I'll end on this one. Bo Nix's 32-yard touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton that gave the Broncos the lead was the first 20-plus yard touchdown catch given up by Trent McDuffie this season, according to Next Gen Stats.
Dude, remarkable. That guy's been an absolute stud in the NFL. I'm going to add one more onto your plate here because I saw this, made it fun.
Sure.
This is only the 5th time in NFL history this weekend that 2 teams are meeting with 8-plus wins in Week 11 or earlier. Only the 5th time that's ever happened, Kansas City and Buffalo. The other instances were Chiefs and Rams in 2018. I'm assuming that's that Monday night game. Chiefs and Broncos in 2013, Steelers and Rams in 1978, and Colts and Broncos in 1977. And a fact on that, this is the 5th time it's happened. In the 4 previous games, the home team has won all 4.
I actually think I'm more excited for Baltimore at Pittsburgh because I want to see how legit Pittsburgh looks against a Baltimore team that I know was a little shaky but good. But it is easily Chiefs at Buffalo for everybody, right?
This is a great weekend of NFL football because you can make an argument for either, and I would even throw
Swag, knock on wood.
Knock up, yeah. You can even throw Sunday night in there too. I'm very excited for Sunday night football as well. Getting Burrow versus Herbert is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's another good one.
It's a really good weekend NFL football.
All right, there we go. NFL Factoid Tuesday. We do it every Tuesday at 6:30. Loaded second hour. Bill Conley's going to join us to talk some college football. Loaded hour 2. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan and the Odyssey app.
Portland.
Make that make sense.
I can't.
1080 The Fan. An Odyssey sports station. Now, From the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's. The classic American steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tanasbourne, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan, as the Oregon Ducks expect to be number 1 in the college football playoff rankings in Week 2. They're very curious where the teams right behind them fall after the 3rd and 4th ranked teams of a week ago lost over the weekend. They'll be released at 5:30 tonight on ESPN. Dolphins able to keep the Rams out of the end zone Monday night, and Miami kept its faint wild card hopes alive with a 23-15 win. Adam Schefter reporting this morning the Bears have fired Shane Waldron as their offensive coordinator after just 10 games. Chauncey Billups looking for his restless Blazers squad to show up tonight. It's an NBA Cup game against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Moda Center. 7:10 tip on KATU, Channel 2.2 and 302 on Comcast Xfinity. Portland 8.5-point underdogs. College hoops for you tonight on both the Fan and 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots heading down I-5 to face the Ducks at Matt Knight Arena, 8 o'clock tip. Oregon 26.5-point favorites. A half hour north in Corvallis. The Beavers welcome the Wolves of Western Oregon to Gill Coliseum. That is an 8 o'clock tip as well on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
LeBron James, sexiest man alive, and virgins making news.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
The worst day to be horny is Sunday. The best day is a Friday and Saturday night.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
You want to close. Close. As in C-L-O-S-E. Not C-L-O-T-H-E-S.
And Brandon Sprague.
I love me a Spanish-speaking woman. I really, really, really do. I love it. Now, that ain't all you got to have. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to have it, but I mean, it is a plus. A bilingual woman, specifically Spanish, whispering in your ear, it's a beautiful thing.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
The expectation is that you're going to be ready to step up and handle your business. That's her expectation, whether she tells you or not. Am I right, Solange? Amen. Amen.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour 2. I actually think that uncomfortable open matches how we opened the show, to be honest with you, so it kind of made sense.
Everything's coming full circle today.
Yeah, it really is. It's a Mail Sack Tuesday. If you're new to the show, welcome in. Good morning. Hope your Tuesday's going well.
Hello.
The Mail Sack is a Reddit, ask us anything, just have fun, send anything in. Sports, non-sports, doesn't matter. You can text it into the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com. You can also put those questions into the YouTube chat. Dirt peruses the YouTube chat. And so we, make sure we get all of the questions that we possibly can in the YouTube chat or the Vancouver Ford text line. We have a loaded second hour here. Bill Conley's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He has something that he wrote that I want to throw at you here in just a second.
Ooh.
Talk some college football today, some leftovers from college football. We also got some more NFL to react to. I know we did a half hour of NFL Factoid Tuesday, but I'm kind of stuck on something. I don't know if it'll be a segment today. I'm kind of stuck on what you said. It's not blowing my mind, but I'm wondering how many people are with you on the I only buy 2 teams in the entire NFC.
Well, I would like
who
else do you view as a legit, not like pie in the sky, like legitimately I would be willing to gamble money on them to win the NFC, because that's the way that I view it. Not like, well,
should
sure,
you really
of course.
be confident when you say the term gambling money? I mean,
no, I'm just saying, how many bets would you be willing to place of yeah, I like their chances, I like the odds there. I'd put $10 on them to win the NFC. Like, how many bets would you be willing to place? Would be my follow-up question.
But that's an impossible question to answer at this point, because I don't know who's going to be injured. I don't know where the game's going to get played.
Sure.
I think that's a really tough. I think it's just interesting to look at a conference Like, we're not doing that in the AFC, are we?
No, because Kansas City's going to win the AFC.
You're probably right on that. I don't think anybody's going to pick against them, but you've got Buffalo make it interesting. Maybe Baltimore for people. Pittsburgh could be looming if they beat Baltimore.
I think the top of the AFC is much stronger and that's been the case the last 3 or 4 years. The AFC has been nobody could beat Kansas City. That fact doesn't change.
You would be dismissing in those scenarios the Vikings, the Packers, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Cardinals.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of teams to eliminate. I'm noodling on
I'm
that.
going NFL Eliminator on November 12th. They're all done. Stick a fork in them.
I like that. We have new items in the fan merch locker, the It's Over, We Think long sleeve tee and the Football's Football hoodie.
It's over!
In 4 of your favorite colors. You can also get the Swinge t-shirt for Mike Lynch in his ALS fight. All profits for that shirt go to Mike's GoFundMe. Fan merch locker at 1080thefan.com.
When are we going to see Swag wear the Swag t-shirt on the YouTube live stream? Is that going to happen anytime
Well, there's a funny thing happening behind the scenes here very quickly for listeners.
Yeah.
In typical Jason Swigart fashion, he has not changed in any way since he started the fan to today. He has been angling with comments. I've heard them. They've been peppered.
You should have heard him Friday when you were out, man. Every commercial break was this.
Comments basically asking for a free t-shirt instead of buying it.
Why aren't they buying me a t-shirt? I should be a model on YouTube.
So,
it's my shirt.
I gonna get one of these? And then nobody really says yes or no, and then it kind of changes in conversation. He's been peppering people, the Coolies, the Austins.
He's asking around.
He's trying to get a free one for sure.
Where's my free t-shirt, man? Come on, give me a free t-shirt here.
That Linfield sweatshirt, he didn't buy that.
No, that was definitely given.
No, this I bought.
That one you bought?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
support the family. Support the nephew.
Support the family.
Yeah.
There you go. So you can find those items at the 1080 The Fan merch locker, 1080thefan.com. Bill Conley, who's going to join us, wrote a really good in-depth piece on the state of college football. And in it, he talked about your Duckies.
Ooh, what did he say about the Ducks?
This one, I think he's going by statistics and not so much what we've seen or how we feel.
Okay, the numbers behind what they're doing.
And you tell me if you think you agree with him or you agree with me on this one. And so on this, he writes, let me bring it up here in just a second. So he wrote an in-depth piece on all of the top-ranked teams, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in it, the 25 things that'll set the course for the rest of the season. It's a really good read. On the Oregon Ducks, he specifically says Oregon's run defense. By national standards, Oregon's run defense is perfectly solid. The Ducks rank 32nd in rush success rate allowed and 47th in yards per carry. But among the 10 primary title contenders, teams are more likely to run the ball well on Oregon than anyone else.
Interesting.
And I know he's using EPA, he's using advanced metrics, he's using just basic stats.
Yeah.
I have watched Oregon play a strong rushing team. And they held them well below their season average.
Mm-hmm.
So while the numbers may point to a team vulnerable on the run, I actually don't view that as necessarily a weakness for Oregon. And maybe I'm just blind because I'm locally watching this team and I'm seeing a juggernaut.
You're such a honk.
Well, yeah, I am a honk. But do you view this the same way Conley writes it? That the top teams in the playoff conversation, if you're beating Oregon, you're going to run the ball well on Oregon because they don't rank very high in some of these metrics, whereas I watched them play Ohio State, and I saw an Ohio State team that could not run the ball the way they want to.
Yeah, and they had, I think, 12 carries for 19 yards or something like that in the second half of that game and couldn't get it going on the ground at all. This is the hard part about season-wide stats in college football, and it gets back to the conversation we were having yesterday about the playoff and who should get in and whose schedule's better, whose win-loss record is better, and all that. Everybody plays a different schedule. It's not like you would get to the end of an NFL season and say, okay, the Chargers, for example, in their defensive numbers right now, I do think are a little inflated. I think they're a better defense. I don't think they're the number one scoring defense in the NFL. They just haven't played a lot of elite offenses, and that's going to change in the coming weeks. And so their numbers will regress to the mean a little bit. And they usually do at that level because you play 17 games against NFL teams, and some schedules are, yes, easier than others, but they're all NFL teams. It's so hard to compute this in college. Like, the one thing that I would say about Oregon's rush numbers is how much does their overall average for the season being in maybe the 30s or 40s of some stats have to do with the fact that they had to play Ashton Genty in week 2 when he was fully healthy and running over everybody. And how many defenses around college football does he run for early in the season before he's maybe got a little more wear and tear on his tires? How many defenses is he going for 150 or 175 yards or 190 yards against? And does that impact their overall rush numbers, right? Like, everybody plays a different schedule at that level, and Oregon had to play unquestionably the best running back in all of college football in week 2, and he went for nearly, I think, 200 yards in that game. I'd have to go look through the regular season numbers. I can't think of another back that's even sniffed 100 yards on him the rest of the season. Now, some teams have been okay running the ball. Some teams have been, bad running teams coming in, and we knew that they were going to throw it. Mm-hmm. But the only week that I would circle and label and say, yeah, that was a bit of an issue or a bit of a question mark was in week 2 against Boise. And when we revisit that game, the vast majority of the yards in that game came on 2 or 3 chunk runs, and that's why Ashton Genty is going to be in New York at the end of the season. But I'd be curious to go look through the other games and see who's sniffed 100 yards on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, you certainly have defenses that probably measure out better than Oregon's defense in this regard, but I'm going through their game logs, and it's nothing. Genty, who, by the way, is still the best back in America.
Yes.
Certainly making a case to be the Heisman. He's now wearing a Gronk-like arm elbow thing to play football, so he's taking his poundings.
Well, here's my follow-up question would be Penn State. Where does Penn State's defensive rush effect or rush defense rank? Where are they at on this list?
Give me a second.
Because they have a common opponent. They both played them at home, and the difference in that game was Ohio State against Penn State ran the ball for 176 yards and averaged 4.5 yards per carry. That's including sack yardage in that game. And them running the ball on Penn State was a big part of them winning that game on the road.
Penn State is slightly above Oregon, but that also has to do with, did Penn State play a Boise State?
They did not, and Ohio State was able to run the football on them. So that's why I don't.
That's the Sam. See, that to me, this is where like numbers don't always lie. I don't like when we dismiss stats and analytics.
No,
this is where, and we could talk to Bill about this. This is where I kind of differ, though. Like, you're giving me your EPA, your rush rates, all that. Yeah, Penn State's statistically a little better than Oregon. I've seen them both play Ohio State, and I saw one team win by running the ball, and the other team, they lost a close one, but they largely lost because they became one-dimensional, especially in the second half of that game.
They did.
What is the weakness for Oregon? If you and I don't agree with maybe the metrics of what Conley's highlighting, because he's going off of stats, okay?
Yes.
This is not Bill Conley writing an op-ed piece. This is why Oregon's going to fail. It's, hey, the numbers say this, and statistically, if this is true, these teams can run the ball. If we don't agree with that, Oregon losing is how?
Yeah, I
these teams.
I don't view it anything defensively. I think their defense is legitimate, and I've argued that all year.
It's the inconsistency of their offense, right?
It's their offensive line. It's still the big, and I know that they have gelled and gotten much better, and the backups did a great job filling in for Harper this last weekend. They at times struggled to create push up front and run the football consistently. And now, to be fair to them, we saw them do it when they needed to in the second half against Ohio State, so they've shown against a good defensive front that they can. But how many games would you look at throughout the course of the year and say, man, they broke off a lot of chunk runs in that game. So a lot of 30-yard runs, 40-yard runs, 20-yard runs, breaking tackles, getting to the second level. It just hasn't happened that often. Even this past weekend, Maryland's run defense is not good. Maryland's defense in general was not very good. And now Oregon laid a bit of a stinker this weekend, so I'm not just circling that one game. But if there's one thing that would concern me, it would be you get into one of those big matchups against one of these elite defenses. Can you create push when you need to, especially inside the red zone and inside the 10-yard line when you're trying to convert touchdowns inside the 5? That would be my biggest concern.
He continued to write, EPA is one of the core components of the FPI, Football Power Index, combining elements of both efficiency and explosiveness. And while Oregon's pass defense is about as good as anyone's, the run defense has suffered just enough glitches to rank last among serious contenders in EPA allowed per rush.
Yeah, I just disagree with that, and I also feel like their passing defense
you disagree
numbers...
with that the numbers are not bearing out what
yes,
you think
I think
the
they're
team
better
is.
than what the numbers indicate, and I would actually argue I am a believer in Oregon's secondary this year. I think they're vastly improved from where they were last year. I also think that stat's a little misleading. How many elite passing offenses has Oregon faced this year?
I think that's the tough part.
This is why
numbers.
It's so hard to break down the stats. Like, go through Oregon's schedule, and how many of those teams would you circle and say, yeah, they're really good at throwing the football?
Not Illinois, not Maryland, not Michigan.
Not UCLA.
Not UCLA.
not Purdue.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Definitely
Boise
not
State's not an elite throw of the football. Like
No.
they can run it.
No.
That's Ohio State has some of the best wide receivers they will see. Will Howard was able to put up numbers, and they moved the ball at times, and they had a couple of touch. Like you're going to have that against a good opponent, but Maryland was really impressive this weekend because they did have the number one passing offense in the Big Ten, and I thought they did a relatively good job.
208 yards for Edwards Jr.
208 yards, not bad. Knocked a lot of balls down at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And the other thing is you're not really going to get this. Like Washington can throw it a little bit. Wisconsin can't throw the football at all. If they beat you, they're going to try and do it running the football, so it'll be another challenge for their front seven. But their backup who has come in, he's barely thrown for 150 yards a game. So that's the hard part. Their numbers are great pass defense-wise, but they haven't really been challenged this year.
Interesting piece by Conley. He'll join us at the bottom of the hour to talk about this and some playoff stuff and overperforming to the SP+, his advanced analytics model that kind of projects out who's who and how many points is this team favored by this weekend and then the rankings of those. So Bill Conley will join us of ESPN.com at the bottom of the hour for the Daily Ticker. It is 7:15. I got more stuff I want to get to coming up next on The Fan. MVP if this keeps humming.
I don't know. He's got 11 touchdown passes.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know about that.
But what does winning do?
Yeah, I mean,
Mahomes is an MVP.
Yeah, he's not, but I
But
see
he
the
is.
argument.
You know
Lamar
what I
is an
mean?
MVP. Joe Burrow's
Win a
having a
playoff game,
statistically
Dirk.
MVP.
Win a playoff game. And I want to play this. This was after their win against the Titans. The Titans stink, okay? So
They're
it wasn't
terrible.
that their win didn't shock anybody. But I just want you to hear this and tell me how different this sounds for this franchise with this guy as the head coach.
Hey, give everybody a high five! Before we break this down with a familiar question of who's got it better than us, so just talk to us, man. Just
I've got so much to say and so little time to say it. Great job, everybody.
Who's got it better than us?
Boy, what a difference a calendar year makes for somebody in a franchise, right?
And in a locker room and a roster that many people would argue was worse than it was last year.
Everybody that doubted that team, and in the doubting of like, I don't think they make the playoffs, it was because that roster, their cap space, all of it.
Yeah,
did
who's your
not
number
look
one
good.
weapon? Who are you throwing the football to?
I listened to 4 different NFL national voices preseason like podcasts of deep dive in the AFC West. And almost universally, they got to the Chargers, and it was, yeah, this team's not very good. I'm not picking them to make the play. And I'm like, you have never watched a Harbaugh team, or you're just like willfully ignoring the fact that somehow that guy goes everywhere and it drastically changes.
Immediately, too. It's not like give him 5 or 6 years and he'll get you there.
No.
In every single
one.
instant, it's year one. You have a massive upgrade in win total.
If you're curious what Harbaugh refers to Justin Herbert as in his franchise, this is what he calls him.
He's our guardian of victory.
Not many people I love more in football than Jim Harbaugh, man. He is. I know the cheating stuff and the way things ended at Michigan. It's been an interesting, 12 months or so for him. About a year ago, we were doing this whole stallion, should he be punished? He's not coaching their big games at the end of the year. That's how it all ended, and then they won a national championship. I think you look over the last 15 to 20 years in every level of football, and you'd be hard-pressed to find 3 or 4 coaches that you would say are better than that guy.
The AFC West is sneaky fun because you've got the Chiefs who are the Chiefs, right?
Yes.
And until they're dethroned, we're not going to believe they'll lose.
They're Terminator, and they cannot lose.
You now have Harbaugh in L.A. with Justin Herbert, which it's not just Harbaugh that's excited to be there and have Herbert. If you just watch Herbert, I feel like you're seeing a guy be embraced in the right way. It's almost it's like a Ted Lasso with Jamie Hart or Jamie Tart like effect. Like you're just watching a guy transform and go, "Oh my God, my coach believes in me."
Yes,
and
I have competence around me now.
he feels like a guy that like is becoming, his identity as a football player and leadership, and he's been given the keys to all of that by Harbaugh. And then you also in Denver, as much as I may question Sean Payton and where he ranks as a coach, you got Bo Nix, and the Denver Broncos are sitting in the playoff. The Raiders are the garbage pit of that division right now.
Terrible.
Until they get a quarterback.
Shador Sanders.
Yeah, Shador Sanders, line 2 is where we know that's going. The AFC West, sneaky fun because you got Bo Nix, you got Harbaugh and Herbert, and you've got the Chiefs.
I think what Herbert is doing this year, the numbers don't jump off the page, but I've argued this all year. When you look at other competent or elite-level quarterbacks in the NFL, not many you can make an argument that have less to work with in terms of who they're throwing the football to than him. Now, McConkey's coming on and having a decent rookie season, but he's not a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. He doesn't have Jamar Chase out there. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson. When you look at the weapons that he's working with, it's remarkable that he's putting up the numbers that he is, and I think it highlights how talented he is. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing about this, and we argued this in the offseason, and it's already come to fruition, I don't know how long it's going to take because I still think they're probably a couple of pieces away offensively in order to get to that level where you say they could legitimately contend in the AFC. And maybe that happens this offseason. Maybe it's a draft pick. I don't know how long it's going to take them. But at least at the bare minimum, you can make the argument he's got a puncher's chance now. Like there was the thought when Brandon Staley was there, for anybody who knew about Brandon Staley as a head coach was, yeah, maybe Herbert's good enough to get you over the hump, but he's probably going to have to do it all by himself. And I've made this analogy and argument multiple times this year. Now, he doesn't have a season necessarily that is stacked up statistically with what Joe Burrow was doing. That's Joe Burrow this year, man. How good was Joe Burrow on Thursday night? He was unbelievable. He has 2 games against Baltimore this year in which he's thrown for like 970 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He scored 30-something in one game, 40-something in another game. What's his record in those 2 games?
0-2.
0-2. Yeah. Because he's got to do it all by himself. They can't run the football, and they don't have a defense. And Joe Burrow's Joe Cool. He's Mr. Cool. I did it in the playoffs. I beat Mahomes. It doesn't matter because you don't have any help. Yeah. And that's been the argument from the majority of Herbert's career. His defense has been ranked 25 through 32 in almost every year he's been in the NFL. His run game's been 25 through 32 in almost every year he's been in the NFL. Now they can hold people down. Now they can run the football a little bit. And while maybe his weapons are not where they were early in his career with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, he's got enough around him at least with the help of the defense and the run game that they're winning games. And so he at least has a puncher's chance now, which is all you could ask for if you're a fan of Herbert.
That's my guy. Who's got it better than us? Nobody.
Things going well for Herbert in L.A. with Harbaugh in his first year down there. Let's get back into college football. The team's poised to exploit who Oregon's or where Oregon's weaknesses are. Bill Conley of ESPN.com wrote a piece deep diving into college football, the contenders for the playoff. We'll get his thoughts on the playoff rankings tonight. Bill Conley joins us for the Daily Ticker. We'll get to Airplane Fight, Micah Parsons, NFL college football coach who doesn't bathe himself. A whole lot more to get into next, but first, Swag with the Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course is always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today and get all the latest news and specials. First on The Fan with the 3rd and 4th ranked teams in last week's college football playoff rankings, both losing over the weekend. There's much curiosity to see what the committee will do in week 2. This after Oregon holds its number 1 slot. The rankings will be announced tonight, 5:30 on ESPN. Dolphins able to keep Matthew Stafford and his Rams out of the end zone Monday night, allowing Miami to keep its faint wildcard hopes alive with a 23-15 win. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting that the Bears have fired Shane Waldron as offensive coordinator just 10 games into his stint. We'll see if the Blazers weren't sleeping the last 2 nights and are ready for a tussle with the Minnesota Timberwolves to open up NBA Emirates Cup play at Moda Center. 7:10 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 and 302 on Comcast Xfinity. Portland 8.5-point underdogs. Elsewhere in the NBA Monday night, Cavaliers extended their franchise record season-opening winning streak to 12 games, holding off the Bulls 119-113. Donovan Mitchell with 36. And the Thunder, without Chet Holmgren for a couple of months, got 45 from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to beat the Clippers 134-128. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new long sleeve Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing, independently brewing since 1996. Your local coastal brewery, Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on a Tuesday, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise your glass, drink on Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. Let's talk some college football with our good friend, Bill Conley of ESPN, the man behind the S&P Plus model at ESPN_Bill C. Bill, good morning to you. The fever dream of 2007 is one that we will never forget, and I know you've been kind of following this and the total number of upsets and the chaos and all that. Where is Bill Conley on 2024 being a season akin to 2007?
Well, I'm getting mad because we fall way behind the upsets, the upset totals of 07 and whatnot. But I'm getting angry because we've missed out on so many wild races because we didn't have a 12-team playoff. Like we've had a normal amount of chaos at this point, but just with the number of different moving pieces involved and the number of title races that matter and the number of all these things, it feels like a chaotic mess, and I love it. And I just wish we had gotten this a long time ago.
Yeah, doesn't the expanded playoff just kind of kill the 07 vibe in a sense of like, oh, yeah, this Miami loss. Yeah, they're still going to make playoffs. So, like, there's really no repercussions to these massive upsets that happen.
Well, I think the first loss has that effect. But, I mean, we've had enough teams with second losses that, things are, just trying to figure out the SEC alone right now is hilarious. When you look at the number of potential two-loss teams they have, who might actually get left out. Are we going to actually leave Georgia out if they lose to Tennessee and have three losses with the hardest strength of schedule? All that stuff. The SEC alone is an absolute mess, and they kind of deserve it for having an 8-game conference schedule and contributing to that mess. But no, I mean, there's a lot of I enjoy mess, and there's a lot of that right now. Even if like the Miami instance specifically didn't have nearly the repercussions it would have before.
Yeah. Okay, now my co-host, we both love college football out here. We're West Coast college football hippies. We also are well aware what narratives are in that sport, and it's the SEC and the Big Ten, and everybody else plays by other rules. Yeah. I feel like I know what you're going to say here, but yesterday we got into a little bit of a back and forth on these rankings. If Georgia loses Tennessee, I don't think they make the playoff. And my co-host goes, oh, really? You don't think they're going to make the playoff with 3 losses?
He's new here, Bill. He's new here.
I'm not new here. I just want to believe in fairness for everybody. And yet I feel like you're going to tell me if Georgia loses Tennessee, they can still make the playoff.
Well, they still could. But they are, tonight they're probably going to rank around, 10th or so, which means if they lose again, even to a top team, they're probably going to fall to 12, 13, 14, 15 if it gets bad. That would mean that they're out and could be back in if other things happen. But they're going to be, you lose that third game. And again, they've had the hardest schedule in the country, and it's not going to get any easier playing another top 10 team this week. It's rare that an actual top 5 or 10 level team plays this many other top teams. But no, I think they are, if they lose, they are out next week, and then it just depends on whatever else happens to get them back in. But we are looking at a really weird situation right now where, who knows how the rankings for sure shape up tonight, but number 8 through about 14, it's probably going to be some combination of 3 two-loss SEC teams and 4 teams that might or might not win their conferences, like BYU, Miami, SMU, Boise State. And good luck trying to figure, there are 4 million scenarios coming off of just that little cluster of the rankings that it makes it really interesting. We could end up with 5 SEC teams. That would not be very much fun considering how much fun we've had to date. We could also end up with 3 SEC teams depending on how things play out. And that's a lot more fun to me.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Bill Conley is our guest, S&P Plus model, ESPN college football writer at ESPN_ Bill C. You kind of answered my next question I was going to ask you there, Bill, because one of the disaster scenarios in the back of my mind is Georgia beats Tennessee this weekend, and then basically you get chalked the rest of the way. And so you have a 2-loss Tennessee. Let's say in this example, Texas wins the SEC. So Texas is guaranteed in. You'd have a 2-loss Tennessee, a 2-loss Georgia, a 2-loss Ole Miss, and a 2-loss Alabama, depending on who goes to the SEC title game in that scenario and loses. If I gave you right now the over under of 4.5 SEC teams in the playoffs, would you take the over or the under?
I'm still leaning under because I do think all three, 4, and 5 are all on the table. 3 is not very likely, but it's on the table. I think 4 is still the most likely.
Okay.
But if you ask me who's getting left out, we're talking about either Tennessee, Georgia, Ole Miss, or Alabama. I don't know. Like that's a really tough. That's a really tough batch to figure out. Now, Tennessee could lose to Vanderbilt in a couple weeks and make this a lot easier, or Georgia could lose to Tennessee and make it easier for a minute.
Yeah.
But I still think I don't know who gets left out, but I think 4 is still most likely.
We also talked about BYU. Indiana BYU came in at 8-9 last week, and many people were like, really? Undefeated, despite what that schedule ranking is. Any other team has that record. They're not that would it be low or high? I guess it'd be high. But is there a scenario looming here? I guess what I'm asking is your takeaway from the first ranking is what? Because I'm worried that BYU may get through the regular season undefeated, could lose in the Big 12 title game to a Colorado. Colorado gets the automatic conference bid, and then BYU somehow is snubbed with their only loss coming in the conference championship game. What was your takeaway from the first ranking?
Well, I think the only thing I know for sure from last week's rankings is the raw record still matters. Like basically, every week I do my little BCS style formula thing that I came across a couple of years ago where I mashed together the poll rankings and the power ratings like SP Plus and FPI, and then resume rankings like resume, SP Plus, and strength of record. Mash that all together, you typically get a pretty accurate read of how of what the committee's going to come up with. But last week it basically this formula was a little higher on like 2-loss SEC teams, for instance, than the committee was. So I think what the takeaway there is, I think if BYU ends up with 1 loss, they're in. And honestly, that could determine a lot of what we're talking about with SEC bids too. But I do think any 1-loss team from a power conference is in. It's just BYU's really lucky to be undefeated at this point in time. And now and they have 3 more losable games moving forward. And if you get to like 11-1 BYU versus 10-2 Colorado or something in the title game, and Colorado wins, then BYU might be in trouble at that point. But I think everybody gets 1 mulligan, and BYU somehow still, despite the way the Utah and Oklahoma State games ended, somehow BYU still has its mulligan to play.
Interesting. Yeah, I think every game the way they played this year is a losable game. They've had a lot of nail biters, but that's what makes college football beautiful.
Notre Dame in 2012.
TCU a couple of years ago. Hell, the Huskies were a little bit of this last year as well. His latest piece, 25 players, games, and units that could decide who wins the national title up at ESPN.com. You could also find it on his Twitter account at ESPN_Bill C. And we talked about that earlier, Bill, some of your numbers on Oregon. I'm curious to ask you, because I see a lot of the metrics, and some of it I think is just hard to quantify because of who teams have played. And, Oregon's passing defense, for example, is really good, but they haven't really played anybody outside Ohio State that can throw the football on them. And their rush numbers may be impacted by having to face the best running back in the entire sport this year, and Ashton Genty. When you look right now, what are the numbers telling you about who is the clear-cut best team in the country? And then a follow-up to that, based on the historical precedent maybe, how many teams are the numbers telling us could legitimately win a national championship this year? Like, how deep is that pool?
Well, I think right now, to answer the second question first, the pool's pretty big. I mean, right now, Ohio State's number 1 in SP Plus, which when you've only lost once to the number 3 team by 1 point on the road, that kind of makes sense to a certain degree. But the most interesting thing to me right now is there are 5 teams within 3 points of that number 1 ranking. Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Alabama are all there. Ole Miss and Alabama aren't even guaranteed playoff spots just yet. Probably, still not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so you start to think about like having an actual bracket at the end of this, and where we don't for sure know who's going to be playing whom, and one of these teams might have to play 3 of those teams, and so on and so forth. That makes things really, really wide open, and that's a lot of fun. So I do think there are 5 teams that stand out, but it won't take that many breaks for a Georgia or I don't know if I trust Tennessee or Penn State or Notre Dame, but Notre Dame really hasn't given us any reason not to trust them since week 2. Miami has the best offense. Like all these things, it's going to be an actual tournament at the end of the year with actual randomness and whatnot, and Like I said, I wish we had this a long time ago because this is already a nutty sport, and this is going to make things even weirder.
I really appreciated on your piece the Heisman breakdown that you've done. You call it the F1 style, so it's 10 points, first place. You rank them every week, and basically you accumulate the points, and then you rank it out. And I don't know if I disagree with it, but I think a lot of people out here, because they're number one, they keep rolling. Dylan Gabriel may be the Heisman this year because of the number one team, and he's the quarterback, and that's how that sport generally works. He didn't have the greatest game this past weekend against Maryland. I'm almost wondering, Jainty's awesome. I don't know if I actually see voters giving it to a Boise State running back, despite how great he's been. Hunter's played like 200 to 300 more snaps than any other player in college football, which is just insane. Was Cam Ward's best argument to be the Heisman him losing this weekend, that if he is not perfect, they are vulnerable almost every week?
Right, and he still threw for 348 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks this week. And it was really interesting, though, this week. Obviously, the betting odds kind of overreact from week to week on stuff like this. So, the fact that Ward's odds dropped quite a bit was kind of dumb, and I think that'll fix itself. But it was really interesting how much Travis Hunter's odds improved this week. Because, he's the hardest player in the country to quantify, in terms of he's got really good receiving numbers, but not the best receiving numbers by any means. But then he's also making tackles and picking off random passes and stuff. And so I get it's very hard. And I kind of have to, every week he's the hardest person to figure out where to put on the list, but I don't have it very high on the list. He's top 4, but he's not number 1. Starting with week 1, Cam Ward and Jeanty have been easily the 2 best players in the country. Gabriel obviously picked up steam, but he didn't start amazingly well. And then, he didn't get any points this last week either. So it's odd. Like, usually the horse race, I've been doing this for a few years, and the horse race style that I use and the actual voters tend to end up agreeing at the end of the season, but they're in pretty big disagreement right now, and I'm curious how that plays out from here.
Interesting. Oregon, a bit of a clunky game as we're talking about with Gabriel this weekend at home against Maryland. One of those weird reality checks for me as an Oregon alum of like, all right, we're playing Maryland in November. This doesn't make any sense. Now they're going on the road to Madison, where last time we saw Wisconsin play, they got dog walked by Iowa, but they're also coming off a bye, so that's a unique angle, and it's on the road, and it's a night game. What's the S&P Plus in the model telling us about maybe the most challenging test left on Oregon's regular season schedule?
Yeah. I think it is, but it's really hard to figure out Wisconsin right now. So for the first 4 weeks of the season, they started 2-2. They underachieved against SP Plus projections by 10 points per game. So they therefore fell out of the top 60. Just they were not good the first month of the season. Then the next 3 weeks, they overachieved by an average of 4 touchdowns per game. Destroyed Purdue, Rutgers, and Northwestern. Charged all the way back to 20th. And in the last 2 games, they've underachieved by 30 points and fallen back to 41st. So I have no idea. Like the good version of Wisconsin plays really, really, really good opportunistic defense, and that version of Wisconsin could, I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like. I haven't gotten there yet in terms of my preview, but that could be a weird November game for Oregon, and they could absolutely give Oregon problems. The problem is we haven't seen that team in like 3 weeks already, and we don't know that it exists. We don't know that the offense is going to show back up. So, Oregon's easily the more reliable of these teams. Well, Wisconsin's, their A game's still pretty good. So they're not out of the woods or anything.
Bama has wins at Death Valley by a substantial margin. They also beat Georgia. What are we going to get pissed off about tonight in these rankings that don't matter yet, but they matter because they're out now? Is Bama poised to jump Indiana and BYU?
I would, I'm not going to say no for sure. I'd be a little bit surprised. I do think that the most likely spot for Alabama is probably 9th. Maybe they hop BYU. I think Indiana's got another step or 2 on BYU just from pure dominance, basically. Last week was the first time all year that they were even slightly disappointing in their performance. So I would assume that Alabama doesn't jump Indiana, especially with the fact that LSU is going to be 21st or 22nd at best. but they're going to jump, and there's at least a chance to catch BYU. Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. Bill Conley at ESPN_Bill C on Twitter. Go give him a follow. College football writer, the man behind the S&P Plus model. His latest piece is 25 players, games, and units that could decide who wins the national championship. A really fun read for all the college football nerds out there. We always appreciate the time, Bill, here in Portland, and hopefully we can do this again soon. Thanks as always.
Absolutely.
There you go. Bill Connolly. Good stuff from him on the whole model and where we're looking and SEC chaos and how this is all going to shake out. I am ready to yell tomorrow. You ready to yell tomorrow? I'm ready to yell tomorrow.
I know this is a bit of a hot take in our area. I actually agree with his Heisman thought.
I'm fine with that.
Gabriel's been really good. Gabriel's going to be in New York. He should be in New York. Hunter may get actually more votes than he thinks because of the dual, both sides thing, because it's more intense than even Woodson did in his career at Michigan.
Oh, it's not even close.
But I really do think Cam Ward may have shown us that, like, hey, if he's not absolutely perfect, they'll lose.
Yeah.
And the difference from what they were last year to what they are this year with him, and then Jainty, I mean, I just don't know how you don't put him up there given where Boise State is and what his season's been.
Yeah, can you shower after a loss? The rankings are out and a little more college football, or they will be out, and a little more college football. We will get to all of that coming up next. The Daily Ticker, as always, brought to you by Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise a glass, drink on. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
I mean, it's just negative plays at the wrong times, right? Whether it's a turnover or a sack or a inefficient play on first down, whatever it was, we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit in that strike zone area, right?
Yeah, there's Matt Stafford. Rams fall at home on Monday Night Football to the Dolphins. He was awful. They were awful in general, and that was a stinker of a game.
That game was awful. And hey, Tua, next time we throw a pick, let's not try and lead with our helmet when we tackle somebody. Maybe just try to not do that. That'd be cool.
Just bow out, get in the fetal position. Let the play
give
out.
Up a touchdown. Who cares?
Who's stinking it up? The Rams last night in that game in general, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful at the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Crunch Time brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. You know, one of my favorite traditions every year, early November, rankings come out. We all watch it, fired up. Can't wait to yell tomorrow on the show. We will be yelling about something.
I thought it was going to be the NBA Cup.
No, my cup fever hasn't quite hit yet. We'll see. Maybe that changes tonight if the Blazers fire Chauncey before the game starts. That'll get my fever going. Then you can cup check me. What are we going to yell about tomorrow? What's going to piss us off the most tonight?
Bama being ahead of BYU.
Would that piss you off if they're ahead of BYU?
You said us, so you didn't say me. No.
Yeah. So what would piss you off the most? Would that get you going at all?
I don't think I have one.
None have anything?
No.
Yeah.
I the only thing that kind of I didn't understand was the initial ranking of Indiana BYU in the sense of like, sure, Indiana didn't look amazing against Michigan. They narrowly won. I still don't know how BYU beat Utah. That was a game that I thought they were going to lose.
And just as a reminder for people, they were 8th and 9th, Indiana and BYU last week.
But, I mean, at this point, I don't think there's anything that's going to get me hot and bothered by what the rankings will be other than maybe Bama, because they beaten Georgia. They just destroyed LSU on the road.
They did.
Being ranked ahead of an undefeated BYU who has narrowly won like 4 games.
But they do have quality wins. That's the funny thing about BYU.
They do.
Indiana's the inverse of them where they don't have a single quality win. Many people
Indiana
would argue.
plays in the Big Ten.
But they're also blowing people out. So that was the first time they played a close game all year was this last week. But BYU's barely beaten teams, but they have a couple of really quality wins under their belt.
Should Miami be ranked ahead of Boise State?
Yeah.
If Boise State falls backwards, because
Why
they
would
were
Boise
12.
fall backwards?
Well, they're 13th in the AP poll.
Ole Miss is going to jump up.
Stop with the AP poll.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
matter.
understand that.
Ole Miss is going to jump Boise State tonight. With their win over Georgia, Ole Miss will unquestionably jump up.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Boise would still get the
Yeah,
at-large.
they're
I
still going to get the
understand
average,
that,
yeah.
but is Miami really better than Boise State?
Well, okay, so I'm going to ask you a question.
How much Boise State football have you watched would be my question. Did you watch their game this weekend?
They narrowly beat Nevada.
They played Nevada at home, and that was a dogfight. They nearly threw a pick at the goal line that ended up getting overturned late in that game.
And that was with Genty going off.
With Genty having a decent, that was a 28-21 game. They did have a nice one over UNLV. Like, UNLV's a good team. They won that game on the road. I'll give them credit for that. And the win against Washington State's aging better and better.
How many times has Miami miraculously
I don't disagree with you.
yanked victory from the jaws of defeat?
They should have 3 losses right now. They only got 2, but they could have 3 losses right now.
There's the team that's in the top 12 that's going to be ranked that we're not going to talk about because they've got a couple top 25 wins that has, I think, the worst loss. They're not going to be talked about, but Notre Dame still has a loss to Northern Illinois. I saw that happen.
That happened. People don't forget Notre Dame. People don't forget.
And Northern Illinois is not good.
No.
It's not like they're this top-ranked.
No, they're like a middle-of-the-road MAC team.
Yeah.
I think the most
that happened at home.
At home, yeah. The interesting part for them, too, is that the A&M win has gotten better as the year has gone on. People thought, you beat A&M, whatever. And now A&M's sitting there inside the top 15 as a one-loss team. And Texas A&M's got a great chance to be 9-3 or 10-2.
I don't know how you sort out the Georgia, Miami with BYU,
Tennessee,
Indiana, Tennessee, Boise, Bama, Ole Miss. I don't know how you sort that out.
Well, the tough part is, so I will maintain, and I think the committee has always leaned on head-to-head matchups being the deciding factor of where teams get seeded.
Are we going to do our prediction again to see if we're right?
I think we'll do it
the
at the end of the show. We'll do it at the end of the show. But here's the tough part, though. In the scenario where Tennessee loses this weekend, you could have 2-loss Tennessee, 2-loss Georgia, 2-loss Alabama, and 2-loss Ole Miss, all with rotating wins and losses against each other. And how do you parcel through that? Where Alabama lost to Tennessee but beat Georgia, and Georgia lost to Ole Miss, but they would beat Tennessee in this scenario. It's like that's where it just gets really complicated.
It's weird.
And
in the Big 12, we call that bad football, but in that conference, it's the best football.
And we
it's
do.
Weird how that happens.
Do you shower after losses? We'll get to that in the final hour of the show. We will give you our thoughts on who we think the top 12 will be. We'll see who gets the most picks correct there. Good product or bad product? I want to talk a little bit about that. And we got the mail sack coming up at 8:15. Get your questions in 503-864-6326 or on the YouTube live chat. Loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Always live on the Odyssey app is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland 1080 The Fan.
Ad-libbing, off script.
An Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Oregon Ducks expect to see their name remaining in the number one slot of the College Football Playoff Committee rankings when they are released at 5:30 tonight. Who's right behind them will be curious after the third and fourth ranked teams from last week's rankings both lost. Dolphins able to keep their faint wild card hopes alive with a 23-15 win over the Rams, keeping Matt Stafford and company out of the end zone. Tua Tagovailoa had a pair of touchdown passes in the win. Shane Waldron is out as offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. That from ESPN's Adam Schefter this morning. He had just been there for 10 games. Blazers start NBA Cup play tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Moda Center. 7:10 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 and 302 on Comcast Xfinity. Portland 8.5-point underdogs. College hoops for you tonight on both 1080 The Fan and 910 ESPN. Portland Pilots head down I-5 to face the Ducks at Matt Knight Arena, 8 o'clock tip. Oregon 26.5-point favorites. Joey Mack with the Ducks call here on The Fan. I will have the Pilots call on 910. In a half hour north in Corvallis, the Beavers welcome the Wolves of Western Oregon to Gill Coliseum. 8 o'clock tip on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Leroy Dragon.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Dirt got fired. He's looking for a job. Don't hire him. He's just stay away from the guy. It's sports radio, 1080 The Fan. Not with Dirt. Sorry, dude.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
What is a Sprague? We should just call him Craig. Yeah, that's your new name, Craig.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
I'm here to support a friend and a work colleague.
You don't know what love is.
Love you very much, Francine.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube, as we are every single day.
This team blows.
Thanks for being with us. Where's my Chauncey drop?
The loser one?
Yeah.
I got
You're a loser.
Where is it on the board? Where's it on the jumbo board? Show me.
Middle
right there. Okay.
red.
Gotcha.
Wait, where? Oh. Yeah, I don't see it.
Middle red.
Yeah, I don't have that one. You sleep well.
You're a loser.
That's all I see.
You're a loser,
That's
man.
it. I just cut it down from.
Oh, okay.
It
You're a
doesn't
loser.
update when I
Gotcha.
change stuff.
Makes sense. Okay.
In the hotkey.
You got to figure all this out, man.
You know what dirt is in the big PP?
What am
You're
I?
a loser.
I am a loser. Dude, I'm a loser in everything. I suck. I suck, man. It's over.
I
Year's
might have
done.
had. I'm exaggerating here, but maybe not. Maybe I'm not. I might have just had the best pastry of my life.
Yeah, the construction bros above us brought in pastries evidently today because they've been making a lot of noise. And I'll let the grudge go because I pulled into the parking lot today and they had my normal parking spot like taped off, and every time I pull in I get pissed off about that.
They've actually been very nice about that. If you actually complain about noise, they try to keep it down.
Try to keep it down, yeah.
It's been going on longer than we thought it would, so they've like brought us things multiple times as like a sorry.
Yeah, we got pastries today.
This, I don't even know the bakery, but there's a bakery in Scappoose came from, and that
these
was
are from
amazing.
Scappoose?
Yeah.
Oh,
some
wow.
small bakery in Scappoose.
Nice.
Let's get to the mail sack in 10 minutes. So keep your questions coming into the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. And to answer Sam on the YouTube chat, do we pay attention to the YouTube chat? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
You guys are usually just yelling at each other, so we just let you yell at each other, but we do pay attention to what you were saying.
We just watch it scroll, and,
that's
anger
what we do.
comes in and the hot takes come in.
There was a talk about takes that came out yesterday. By the way, a whole bunch of fun with audio coming up later on in the hour, including Do You Shower? This was given yesterday, and I want to know, do we give it an agreement, a disagreement? Could go either way. This led to a bit of an online debate, and I will let the clip speak for itself, and then we will discuss.
Listen, I'm making this video not to
make a point. I just have a legitimate question, and I want to know if you have any thoughts, ideas, answers, counter arguments, whatever, some pushback. I'm 37 years old. I've watched football my entire life, NFL and college, but let's focus on the NFL for a second. I don't ever remember the games being this bad. The 4 p.m. slate right now, every game is an ass whooping. You've got some nice performances. The Cardinals look great. Justin Herbert's playing great. None of these games are competitive. To start your day off, you had the Giants and Commanders.
How you meant
I mean,
Panthers.
Daniel Jones is pathetic. Yeah. And then 1 o'clock, like, what game was worth watching? Steelers, Commanders?
Bucks, Niners.
That's it? Bucks, Niners got good? This is bad. I mean, the NFL is bad. On Sundays, I used to dread when my wife wanted to do anything. I used to dread it when she wanted to go shopping, go to a friend, whatever. If I had to go and I couldn't be in front of the TV, glued to it, watching football, I would be miserable. Mm-hmm. Or let's go early so I can be home in time for kickoff. Now, I don't give a f***. What am I going to miss? What the f*** am I going to miss if I'm not home in time for 1 p.m.? Caleb Williams going 13 of 20, whatever the f***, for 120 yards, and the Bears getting 3 points at home? What am I going to miss? This is terrible. And I mean, what do you point the finger at? Is it the coaching? Is it the coordinating? The quarterbacks? I mean, what is it? It's got to be something, right? Are the practices too soft? The lack of preseason? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, man. This product sucks. Just my opinion. Am I wrong? Tell me.
All right, who was that? I didn't see this video. I haven't been on Twitter very much.
I saw it because Mina Kimes quote tweeted it. That's how I originally saw it, and then that led to a debate from people. It comes from a Twitter handle, the Degenerate Weekly. So I think he's a guy that does gambling content, and he's got 20,000 followers. He's in New York City, so clearly some of these people follow him on Twitter.
He also omitted Steelers Commanders was a good game.
Yeah, I think he mentioned it in there. Didn't he get to Steelers Commanders?
No, he said Commanders in lieu of the Panthers.
Yeah, for the morning game.
What was the good game? Niners Bucks, I guess.
Yeah. So he said bad slate. Now this led to Mina Kimes saying there have been more one-score games this year, I believe, than any year in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
Bill Barnwell jumped in and saw this and quote tweeted it and said, "No question, there are bad teams." And blah blah blah. 2024, a decade ago, Peyton Manning went 5 of 20 for 35 yards and got benched for Brock Osweiler. He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Went through all the other bad quarterbacks we've seen over the last decade.
Well, it brings up the debate of, is the quality of play better now than in whatever period you feel?
Yes.
Versus, okay, there's like...
I just like doing this in the NFL because we do this to every other league. And the NFL just skates with bad product after bad product.
The Panthers-Giants was dramatic and close,
but they're bad teams.
Daniel Jones was missing wide open wide receivers, throwing the ball 20 yards over their head.
There are 11 teams in the league with 3 or less wins. 11.
So is dramatic and close in one-score games good, or is the quality?
Is Vikings-Jags a good game?
No, that was a horrible game.
12-7, it's close, competitive. Got a chance to go either way.
That's a terrible game.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, and I know we're going to have listeners because we hear from every day. Broncos-Chiefs was not a great game.
No.
It was 16-14 with a field goal attempt to win the game.
Yes, dramatic at the end.
Sure.
Yes, one-score game, but not a good product.
So I think the one-score thing is a little misleading by Mina. But look, the league is not perfect. Brady's actually talked about some of why I think we have what we have in this league. These teams are forced because of their salary cap situations to say, we got to play the guy now. There's no waiting a year. You're not Aaron Rodgers. You're not Mahomes even for a year. All these dudes play right away. Bryce Young, would he have benefited from sitting out? Maybe even 2? I think we can make the argument that right now, yeah, probably would have. Caleb Williams, I thought, was as ready as you could be. Clearly that team wasn't, and they didn't evaluate that properly. That's a dude that probably could have benefited sitting out. Daniels is having a stellar season, so he's kind of an exception here. Bo has been up. Bo has been down. They've got good things around him, so that's fine. Mm-hmm. Drake May sat out the first couple weeks. He's been dealing. He also turns the ball over a lot. I just think it's a mix of I think penalties are killing the game. I think it's too many subjective things, and so every single play
that took off on this thread of every big play feels like it's called back.
Everybody that has their team score, you are waiting maybe 20 seconds before you're celebrating because you're going to wait for that little flag icon to pop up, and you're going to assume the flag icon's going to go against your team. And I think it's rookie play. I think it's a combination of things. I also don't think it's the worst I've ever seen the product. Like, I've lived through eras that have not been good, but we reminisce based on how our teams have done. Do you know who the two worst teams in football have been since 2017?
Record-wise, the two worst teams in football since 2017.
Since 2017.
Oh, that's a fun little...
Where did you say this guy's based?
New York.
Both
Jets
New York
and Giants.
Teams. It's the Jets and the Giants. So this guy's waking up in his nice plush apartment or home, probably rooting for his Giants or Jets, even though he'll tell you, I'm a gambler, I root for the money. Like, and he's probably a Giants or Jets fan saying, what has he had to watch? The worst situation in football from both teams.
Yeah.
So, like, are you jaded by how bad your teams run? Are you playing rookie quarterbacks? Did your team commit themselves to a mediocre to bad quarterback because they felt like they needed to? There's too many things at play here to determine whether this is right or wrong. We all feel this way. But what was the slate like in 2008 in the afternoon? You're not going to tell me because you don't remember. I'm sure we've had millions of those slates where it's like, these games kind of suck.
Yeah, I think I just like doing this because there are times, and I love football, man, and I watch it countless hours every weekend. I'm on my couch, glued to my television, just like the vast majority of you, as much as I possibly can be.
I would argue you're far more glued to bad college football than probably anything else.
Sure, and there's a lot of bad college football, too. There's a lot of ugly games out there and bad offenses, especially this year where a lot of teams have weaknesses. Watching Georgia suck. Like, that's a bad team sometimes.
Fun to watch.
It was not a fun game to watch at times for them offensively. I do like doing it, though, because there is an aspect of we seemingly criticize every other professional sports league. What's going on in the NBA? The product's not good. Guys don't care. Guys are sitting out. Oh, it's only regular season, doesn't matter. Like, you just get that nonstop. It's just an avalanche of negativity towards that league.
And usually by the own media that
covers it. And then the NFL is just like, well, this is great. Everything's great. It's a wonderful product. It's like, no, it's not, dude. There's a lot of really bad games in the NFL. And you're so prisoner of the moment where I'm with you. Like, I don't remember what it was in 2018, let alone 2008 and what we were saying. And I'm sure there's a degree of these takes that come out. I do find myself, the 10 a.m. window on Sunday is usually like my
far better.
Let's lock in, and there's a lot of games going on, and I feel like this weekend again, the end of the 10, you had Niners and Bucks coming down to the wire, Commanders and Steelers coming down to the wire, Chiefs and Broncos, like final plays. Not all of those games were great, but at least they were interesting and compelling in some way, shape, or form. And then I find myself, for the most part, in the afternoon window, it's on my television, and I'm getting things
there's
done.
usually like one.
We're doing laundry, we're getting dinner ready, we're food prepping for the week.
Good.
Like, okay.
So I'm the same.
You kind of lean over, like, look at that, Chargers up by 17. All right.
The difference is those games, like the Chiefs Broncos game, that wasn't well played necessarily, or at least from an offensive standpoint, wasn't as aesthetically pleasing as you would hope. The outcome still matters, and I think that's the biggest difference, where you have 82 games in an NBA and an NHL season, 162 major league games. Midway through the season, you still have 70 games to go. So
the Cavs are 12-0 right now.
Cavs are 12-0.
You got 70 games to go.
The outcome is not as impactful to the whole until you get down to the end of the season and you're going for seeding, or are you going to be in the playoffs, the play-in, whatever. That's the advantage that the NFL has with just 17 games. The outcome of any one individual regular season game is much more impactful than the NBA or whatever.
I also think we struggle to know what we like. I think it's and I'm not kidding, I think a lot of football fans, and I'll put myself in this, really struggle with identifying what is a perfect football game. We talked about this years ago on the show, and people were like, I think it was after that Ram-Chief game, and it was like
52-49 or whatever that final was.
You know, you had the people, it's too much offense. There's no defense in this league. It's not physical. You can't hit anybody anymore. Yeah. And now it's kind of, the pendulum has swung now, where like Mahomes' yards per attempt is a career worse, and offense is it's not thriving the way it did 4 years ago. And what do you hear now? God, it's so boring. There's teams can't execute. There's no point. So it's like, I don't think people know truly what they like. Because if there's too much scoring, you get mad that there's no defense and they're not allowed to hit anybody. And then if it's the other way, it's like, oh, this sucks. There's no offense. I need touchdowns. I don't know if people know what kind of football they like. I really believe that people aren't convinced they know what even they like from football.
I think that's a valid argument.
What is your perfect game?
I'd say 31-28.
Okay, so you love points.
Yeah.
You love points. And when it's
Chiefs and Rams is too much because then there's no defense.
Sure.
But 31-28 to me is a good balance of, all right, you got a few stops, few turnovers, few explosive
that's almost
plays.
60 points.
I
would still say there's not a lot of
I
great
prefer
defense
offense
being played in that game.
I prefer offense, man. I want good quarterback play and good offensive play. Is the product bad this year? 503-864-6326. I've also reached a point, too, with these standalone games. I'm like, I don't need, last night's game was terrible. I was on my television. I didn't get up and watch Panthers and
I didn't
Giants.
care about it either.
Doesn't matter.
The Dolphins are not good.
Neither of them are probably playoff teams. I don't need to watch that. I didn't gamble on the game. I got nothing there. I don't need to watch that game.
I think that's the underrated thing. I know we got to go. That's the underrated thing about that league, too. The NBA and baseball, we've argued about flexing, and I know they have flexed some games in and out, but, I don't know what you do or how you fix it. They really need to be have you seen? I brought this up here. Have you seen the Thanksgiving slate?
It's not good.
What game are you excited for on Thanksgiving?
None of them. Just seeing the Lions is fun on Thanksgiving. That's it. Caleb's going to get sacked 37 times.
Okay, and then you get the Giants and Cowboys.
Nope, I want nothing to do with that.
Dear God, and
Nope.
then you hope it's not cold and snowy because otherwise the Dolphins are going to get steamrolled in Green Bay. So it's like, how do you not properly identify the matchups, and then why aren't you flexing earlier in the season? You got to do that. You got to make us more gravitate towards it. Steelers-Commanders should have been my primetime game last night.
Yeah.
Not Rams-Dolphins.
Two under 500 teams. No, thank you for that. Let's get to the mail sack. Your questions welcome. 503-864-6326. We'll answer them coming up next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Yeah, continue to evaluate, get those guys back. Right now, early in the week, we'll take a lot off of them and then see, how they feel. But, I anticipate that we should be able to see them.
Dan Lanning last night at his weekly press conference saying he anticipates both Jordan Birch and Jordan James going to be able to play this weekend in Madison, Wisconsin.
Good news. Should be getting Harper back as well, I believe, sitting out there last game.
He's got a chance. Yeah, he's got a puncher's chance.
Got a chance to get back the O-line as healthy as they have been in a couple of weeks. That's good news for them. I just think Oregon's going to roll Wisconsin.
Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Brian Puskis, visit rocpdx.com.
It's the Vancouver Ford
crying, you're so scared and all alone.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
It's kind of day I need a fourth hour. I got too much show to get to. We're going to run out, need some leftovers for tomorrow.
We haven't even argued about the Big Nooner.
No, we got Big Nooner in the news. Joe Klatt saying Big Nooner's great. Fans are saying, no, it's not, Joel. Shut the hell up.
No, but people watch.
People watch, man. People watch.
Don't people watch 4:30 on NBC?
They do. I think they watch. People like football. Breaking news. People like football.
Ohio State, Michigan. Could put it on at 9 o'clock at night. It's going to get 9 million viewers.
Put that game on at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it'd probably get 6.5 million viewers, man. My ass would be
I'd
up
set my
watching
alarm if Michigan was good.
A lot of thoughts coming in on the
slumber party in the shoe.
Yeah, let's go. A lot of thoughts coming in on the football stuff. Interesting comments, kind of both sides of it. It's not worse than it's ever been. That's a caught in the moment thing. But there are weekends and times where you're like, not a great slate. And one listener said, hey, if you're bored, just gamble on the games. And you're not wrong. If I would have gambled on the game last night, I probably would have been glued to it if I had Rams -2.5 or Dolphins +2.5.
Even if I'm wrong and people disagree and say, no, Sprague, I know what kind of game I like. Okay, even if I'm wrong there, I would also say what we universally agree with is their distribution from the AM to the PM games is ridiculously stacked and stupid.
Yeah, the afternoon slate this week. There's a lot of weekends where you get to that 1 p.m. slate, and if there's not an America's game of the week that lives up to the hype, it's like, okay.
Here's three crappy
and
games.
I don't know why. I mean, I know obviously there is a disproportionate amount of teams in the Eastern and Central time zones than the Mountain and Pacific, so that is part of it.
It plays into it.
You keep parceling out more one-off games on Thursday night. There was, 4 or 5 doubleheaders on Monday night.
Wait till we get to the week of Thanksgiving when
you have
then Christmas where you
games.
got weekday games. There's a Black Friday game. There's 3 games on Thanksgiving. So what's that Sunday slate going to look like?
So, but yes, they do need to try to even it out a bit more.
Would be nice. Let's get to the mail sack. Let's see what we got here. Light sack today. We'll get through it. Mail sack question. I recently just found out I was singing the wrong words to a song I've known most of my life.
Dude,
do you guys have any songs you recently realized you've been singing the wrong words?
That's a great one.
What do you think, Michael McDonald? Do you have any...
I still don't know what Michael McDonald's saying. Nobody knows what
There's a lot of that. What was that? What did he say there? I don't know.
My 8-year-old is currently doing this. She's singing half the songs she knows and not saying the words.
Yeah.
She's just kind of like saying a language that doesn't exist. And
make
then
it sound like what the word sounds
just
like.
Just kind of hum along.
But usually one of the worst ones is Rocket Man. I know Elton John, Rocket Man. Most people don't know. Burning out this fuse up here all alone.
Yeah,
that's the line.
Sky rockets at night.
In flight.
Oh, there you go.
See, I just found 2 examples. Jimmy Fallon did a thing on this where he had people send in years ago.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ones was the opening line of the Lion King song.
Yeah.
Somebody thought they were just saying Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Even though it's
Pennsylvania. It's like, what? Did you say Pennsylvania there? Joey Harrington, Marcus Mariota, Bo Nix. Start, bench, trade.
You start Mariota. Oh. Am I getting what Bo is at Oregon or his whole career? Could I get Auburn Bo?
Are we doing NFL or are we doing college?
We're not doing NFL.
Well, I mean, the first 2 didn't have a great NFL career. Bo's only a rookie.
You cut the first 2.
Well, you got to start, bench, and trade.
Well, Mariota's currently on the bench. So.
He is still. He's still hanging around. Harrington hung around for a long time as a backup.
If you're going college, if you give me what Bo Nix was his whole career, so there's a roll of the dice Bo Nix Auburn shows up.
You could get bad Bo.
I'm cutting Bo.
Cutting Bo?
If you told me it's Bo's final year in Eugene, I'm starting Mariota. I'm benching Bo Nix, and I'm cutting
You're trading Joey Harrington. How dare you?
But if you're telling me it's the whole career, I'm starting Mariota. I'm benching Joey Harrington. I'm cutting Bo Nix.
I hope for your sake, Isaac and Suk aren't listening right now.
They're not. Don't worry.
No, they're not. They can ask him that question on Friday.
Never having Joey on our show.
Mail sack question. Outside of Missouri, would the remaining 2 lost SEC schools be better off not making the SEC title game so they don't run the risk of having 3 losses?
Yes.
See, here's the thing.
2 loss, Georgia.
I think the committee will not punish losing a conference championship game anymore. That's one of my takes going into the end of this. I don't think the commissioners will allow that to happen, because if that happens, that's how you lose conference championship games. So in this scenario, you would have Alabama. Let's say the SEC is example. Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, all with 2 losses. Let's play out the hypothetical. The Texas is the 1-loss team, so they're in. Alabama, I believe, wins the tiebreaker in that scenario. They would go. If they lose to Texas, they're not leaving them out of the playoff for losing that game.
But Ole Miss goes to the SEC title game and loses, and Georgia only has 2 losses to end the year. I think Georgia's in, and I think Ole Miss is out because they have a home loss to Kentucky.
I disagree.
And that would be their 3rd loss.
I know. I don't think they're going to allow those to be punished by missing the playoff.
So if BYU
because that will get commissioners
Colorado,
immediately to say, then we're not playing conference championship games anymore. What's the point in playing the game?
So Colorado and BYU win out. They meet in the Big 10.
Big 12.
Or
Big
Big
12
title game, and Colorado loses. And they're by the time they would
Colorado's
get there,
Colorado's not. As a 3-loss team, there's no chance they would get
They're
in.
not in.
The scenario there would be BYU,
BYU
having a 1-loss, being in the conference
Conley
championship.
thinks they're in, by the way.
And he thinks that they're in.
Yeah.
It's so hard to decipher, though, because does Miami lose again? Does Indiana lose a random game?
Miami could lose at Syracuse.
Like, that's why it's so hard to decipher.
Yes.
Like, well, does this team get in? It's like, well, I don't know what the rest of the field looks
Cougars
like.
better watch out this weekend down in Tempe.
Who do they got?
Tempe.
Arizona State, yeah.
Off a bye.
By the way, very quickly, you mentioned the Thanksgiving slate. I went and looked, okay? So we have 3 on Thanksgiving. We got a Friday game.
Chiefs play, I believe, Black Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
You got a Monday night game and a Sunday night game.
Here is your slate on Sunday.
Okay.
Okay?
It's a very small slate.
Niners at Bills.
Oh.
Chargers at Falcons.
Okay.
Steelers at Bengals. Cardinals at Vikings.
Oh.
And
That's the best.
Eagles at Ravens.
Dude, that's the best NFL. All the good games are on Sunday.
Care
All
to
the
guess
other
the
games.
Monday night game?
What is the Monday night game that
None of
week?
the games I mentioned.
What's the Monday night game that week?
Browns at Broncos.
Not watching. Not watching.
Well,
What's the Sunday
Broncos
night game
win
that week?
They might be in the playoffs.
They might. I guess I'll watch for both. What's the Sunday night game?
That
week.
Sunday night? Oh, I think it's a weird week where we don't get a Sunday night game. Oh, no, it's Niners at Bills. Oh, snowy, cold Thanksgiving game.
That might be the best Sunday of NFL football of the entire calendar year. And all the who did the Chiefs play on Black Friday?
The Raiders. It's the rematch of the Christmas game.
So Thursday, Friday sucks.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty substantially.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Dude, like Bears,
Sunday's
Lions,
the day to sit on the couch and watch football that day or that weekend.
See, and this is, what would you trade? Would you rather have 1 to 2 good, great games on Thanksgiving, or would you rather have the Sunday slate?
Give me the Sunday slate, because Thanksgiving you're watching,
It's a
but
distracted day.
you're eating, you're
Yes.
doing other things. There's other sports going on. I'm okay with those games sucking. Sunday I have a higher chance of sitting on my couch and doing nothing than I do on Thanksgiving.
Eating the leftover Thanksgiving
Yes.
sandwich. And now, what game from Sunday would you bump and put to Thanksgiving to have a good game?
Oh,
So
buddy.
it's Niners, Bills, Chargers, Falcons, Steelers, Bungles, Cardinals, Vikings, Ravens, Eagles.
Maybe Eagles, Ravens.
Okay. Lamar.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that one.
That's a good slate, man.
That's a pretty good
If
slate.
injuries don't play a factor, this is an amazing week.
I can't believe you left out Bucks and Panthers. A little upset with you there. It should be a Thanksgiving.
I almost said it, and I'm like, why did I almost just say the
Why did-
Panthers?
Wait, they're back-to-back wins.
What am
bitch.
I doing here?
Last one, mail sack question. Is there a restaurant or any place that doesn't exist now that you wish would come back? For me, I wish I could go into an Izzy's buffet one more time.
Oh, God. I was thinking about that about a month ago.
What restaurant would you bring back if you could bring one back?
Izzy's is a good one because we used to almost always have our sports trophy banquets at the Izzy's at Gateway.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding when I tell you, I probably ate 45 pieces of barbecue chicken and like 2 full plates of chocolate mousse. I used to just scoop that crap by the truckloads.
Keep eating it and keep eating it and keep eating it.
Was it good food? Probably not. I'm an adult now and have better taste buds, but I remember how it felt in the moment, and that was first-class dining. There's coincidentally a breakfast place that got very bad, but my tie to it mentally is that it was one of the only happy times in my life when my mom and stepdad were married, and it's a place that's now closed called King's Omelet.
King's Omelet.
It's off Halsey. It's been closed for a couple years. I haven't been there since I was like 7. But yeah, they had stained glass and the breakfast. It was a breakfast restaurant. It was
Felt
amazing.
good. Brings
Yeah.
back the nostalgia when you
Yes.
walk in.
Yes.
I'm with you on that.
No, there's down on McAdam where that hotel is now. The they've had different restaurants in there or whatever, but there used to be a restaurant as a Mexican place called Tequila Willie's way back in the day.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And
Good
that was a fun spot. Good atmosphere. Fun
Quiznos
place.
off McAdam. Me and Dirt went there quite a bit with Danforth.
We did,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Does Quiznos still exist?
Yeah, there's one in Chehalis.
Is there?
In
Yeah.
the shopping center.
Okay.
I think they're
I was a big Quiznos guy.
I think they're
Yeah.
spaced out. Like there's one Sherry's
The
left.
toasted sub, the first time you got the toasted,
yeah.
they started that whole trend.
The carbonara sub.
Oh,
that
good.
was wonderful.
I liked the chicken honey mustard one.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's good stuff. My favorite restaurant in the city was Portofino in Selwood, and it closed, I think, in the aftermath of the pandemic.
Well, what didn't? I mean,
Yeah, very good point. And I miss it. I miss it dearly. It was great food, and I miss it. R.I.P. There you go. Mail sack every Tuesday at 8:15. Joe Klatt defends the big nooner. We got that. Do you shower after losses? Some fun with the audio. Dive into that coming up next. First, your swag with Sports Center.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings tossed with a perfect dry rub served with a killer trio of sauces. Menus at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan with the third and fourth ranked teams of last week's college football playoff rankings both losing over the weekend. Much curiosity to see what the committee does in week 2 tonight. Oregon, assuming, holds its number 1 slot. Those rankings will be released at 5:30 on ESPN. Dolphins keep their faint wild card hopes alive, holding Matt Stafford and his Rams out of the end zone for a 23-15 win on Monday Night Football. Shane Waldron is out as offensive coordinator of the Bears after just 10 games. Chauncey Billups hopes to have a restless Blazers squad show up tonight for the first of their NBA Cup games. They get the Minnesota Timberwolves at Moda Center, 7:10 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 and 302 on Comcast Xfinity. Portland 8.5-point underdogs. College hoops for you tonight on both the Fan and 910 ESPN Portland as the Pilots head down I-5 to face the Ducks at Matt Knight Arena, 8 o'clock tip. Oregon 26.5-point favorites. Just a half hour north in Corvallis. The Beavers welcome the Wolves of Western Oregon to Gill Coliseum, 8 o'clock tip on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, and tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland.
lonesome highway east of Omaha.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I can see him sounding like Bob Seger, too. Underrated.
Latest word.
Underrated.
Little grit in the voice.
Little grit. He's definitely got a little grit. He's seen some
He's
things.
raspy. He's raspy. He's been choked a lot.
He's been to a Nickelback concert, okay, with some good girls.
A lot of whiskeys run through him. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to know what that is.
Nobody's going to connect the dots there. You're totally safe.
Whole
Nothing to see here.
That people
Don't
are
worry
like,
about
what
it.
is this?
Don't worry about it.
Either listen to it or don't listen to it.
There is a joint complaint being filed by two different fan bases who were livid at one entity and somebody from that entity defending it, saying, no.
Can we just call
This is good.
general media in America at this point? There's a lot of complaining.
Yes, a lot of complaining.
And then dive into whether we should be complaining, if it's anything that actually impacts our life day to day.
So here's the complaint. Let's see if these are valid complaints.
Okay.
It was announced, I believe, yesterday that the Ohio State-Indiana game, which is coming up on next week, not this weekend, but next weekend, 23rd. Oregon's off that weekend.
I hope Indiana wins.
Be hilarious. In my face.
Everybody's face.
They announced that will be the big noon game. That's your big nooner.
You can hear it on 910.
And this has led Ohio State fans' hair to...
Have they had 4 of them?
So this now will mean the final 6 games of their season for Ohio State will be big noon games.
Oh, wow.
Because the Michigan game was the first overall draft pick by Fox back in
That's
August.
that's
always at that time.
noon.
So they had the
Local time.
Nebraska game in the aftermath of Oregon, the Penn State game. This last weekend, for whatever reason, they picked Purdue. This weekend, I believe, I have to go look who they played again this weekend, but I believe they play at noon. Then the Indiana game on the 23rd, and then the Michigan game, obviously, at the end of the year. Ohio State fans are livid about this because they say, I mean, what, like 1 or 2 noon, like fine, noon games are okay. Yeah. Our whole schedule is the big noon kickoff, essentially. It's now the Ohio State big noon kickoff. They just pick that game every week, and this is on the heels of Penn State fans who were pissed when they hosted Ohio State, and that's one of the games in this stretch for the Buckeyes, because they wanted that game to be their whiteout. They do their whiteout once a year, and they couldn't do it that week because Fox claimed the game and put it at noon, and they then had to do their whiteout game against the Huskies in a game that was on the Peacock that nobody watched. Yeah. And so Penn State was already pissed about this. They felt like they got jobbed, and we could have beat Ohio State if it was a night game.
Michigan
and Ohio State's pissed.
If you have Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State on the Tony Petitti hotline pissed, that's a problem.
So this led to, and we'll see if these complaints are valid, Joe Klatt has responded to this because people are just getting pissed at Fox. And here's what Joe Klatt said. A lot of talk about Big Noon Saturday. Here are some things that I think you should know. Big Noon Saturday has been the most watched college football window for the last few years. Last year, our average was 7 million viewers a game. Prior to the Big Noon, this window was non-existent. What? Fox Sports saw a clear opportunity to build value into the sport by creating a third window for premium content. It clearly worked. The Big Ten entered the partnership with the other networks. The Fox has the exclusivity of that preferred window. Fox is noon, CBS is 3:30, NBC is at 7. Each network gets to select their game and air their game. When we have the privilege to select one of the great matchups, we showcase that game in our premium window.
And look, the obvious thing here to Joel Klatt is Joel Klatt's right with ratings and the big game and all that stuff. Everybody's fairly saying, like, dude, you could put these games on at any time slot. And, like, if it's Ohio State, Penn State, 9 a.m. ratings are not going to be any better or different, I think, than 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, okay? So it's a fair rebuttal to Joel Klatt, who's probably never going to respond to that aspect of it. I'm not even mad at Joel Klatt. He's defending the thing he calls. I totally get it.
He's an employee of Fox. What do you want from him?
I've also been loud and out about this. I will never go to a 9 a.m. game, and I will gladly wake up excited to have a 9 a.m. game because I love that. I love having that in my Saturday.
You like having a big game right out of the gate on the weekend.
Yeah, because you know what? As a father of 2 kids who are of a good age, I'm not becoming a big fan of the night game anymore. I don't like the 7 o'clock kicks.
Now, what about 4:30? Because that's usually the prime. 4:30, 5 o'clock is usually the quote-unquote prime time window of college
That's about
football.
it for me because that game's going to be over by 8 to 8:30. I can still do something with my family on a Saturday night. I don't miss Pac-12 After Dark, to be honest with you. I know people love it, and we joke about it. I don't think that many people actually watched it, but
that BYU-Utah game got over late Saturday.
Yeah, and like we live in a bubble where we're like, everybody in sports is watching this, and the numbers come back, and it's like 850,000 people watch that. It's like, okay, didn't even get 1 million viewers. This is interesting. 15 of their 23 big noon games have been home games for Ohio State.
Yeah.
That's a massive problem.
They just keep picking Ohio State
And
games.
you may recall this conversation from a year or two ago. I think it was when USC left or maybe just before. Remember, we were doing segments on the radio station about this was looming for us. And everybody was up in arms, and I was sitting here saying, well, I'm not going to the game in Eugene. What do I care? I don't mind it. Bring it on. And we heard from Duck Fan that was like, I'm going. This sucks. You're stupid. Don't have these. It's interesting in year one. I don't think they've had big noon games at home.
They have not had a big noon game.
That's fascinating to me. And if I'm a Big Ten team, I'm Ohio State, Penn State,
Make
Michigan,
their ass play at 9 a.m.
They're new, and some of them aren't even getting full shares. So what are we doing here? So I would be on the horn with Petit.
Well, plus, I mean, for Ohio State, all those big-time donors that are paying whatever on top of their season tickets, and they're 2/3 of the home slate.
Every home game essentially this year for them has been a 12. And that's why the fans are pissed of like, we get it a couple of times a year, but you're essentially picking the Ohio State game every week because they don't have the first pick every weekend. Some weekends the NBC, they traded the pick the Ohio State Oregon week. NBC had the first pick that week. They took that, put that in their primetime window at 4:30.
I see it.
So every week it changes.
No more than 3 per season.
I was surprised Penn State USC wasn't a big nooner. I remember going in a couple weeks before they announced the time.
In L.A.
We heard about this from
see, that to me was
Kliavkoff and Scott was like, this might be the world we live in. And we talked about that of like the Pac-12 having 9 a.m. games and how much that sucks. And
Talk about an outraged fan base. Yeah, if you put a big game at Autzen at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I just thought year one in the Big Ten with all those schools that they were going to get the short end of
us. Time would I have to leave for that pregame show? Pregame show would start at 5. I would have to leave at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh,
you're you're crashing with a buddy in Eugene. That's what you're doing.
You should get in a hotel.
Should college football adopt the NFL's if it went from 9 to 10? And then the second round of games,
it make more
1:30, and then
is that 1 hour difference making people happier? Because I don't think
I don't know. I'm asking the question: Would that subtle change, especially East Coast from noon to 1, if you did it like the NFL slate? Because everybody's accustomed to the NFL slate now.
Well, 1 o'clock game Eastern time zone. What time? I mean, I say this. I've never tailgated for more than like 3 hours ever. I don't really care to be in a parking lot for like 7 hours. I'm not the norm in this regard.
Yeah.
So how much do you need to tailgate for a 1 o'clock?
I think it helps a little bit, but I don't think it would make that big of a difference, to be honest with you.
So,
I think they want their big game. Like Penn State, the whiteout, I get. That's one of the coolest traditions in all of football. They do it one time a year. They wanted it to be the Ohio State game all year, and then they were left doing it against a below 500 Husky team on Peacock.
Beat Ohio State and you get it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid argument. There's no doubt, but they don't have a choice in it. And I think that's where these programs are getting frustrated of. The Fox just keeps grabbing these big games and putting them at the same time, and that's what's leading people to be upset. I also question the overall strategy, and I know we got to go here, but Fox picking them trying to make the big noon thing every weekend to me is missing the mark. Like their big broadcast duo is Gus and Joel. That's their number one tandem. They make their number one tandem call the big noon game every weekend. The big noon game this weekend was a 45-0 Ohio State win over Purdue. How in any world does that make sense? You had better. Colorado and Texas Tech was a better game at 1 o'clock on Fox.
I was surprised that wasn't.
Boise State, Nevada was a better game at 5 o'clock on Fox. Make them I don't understand. Like imagine Kirk Herbstreit just getting the 9 a.m. game on ESPN. Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit calling Louisville, Miami, Georgia Tech this weekend because that happened to be your 9 a.m. game. It makes no sense to do that. That's where I just don't understand the strategy from Fox, that they have to be at that site for their pregame show. Their guys got to call it, and occasionally it falls on a big game, but for half of the season it's a game that's irrelevant and it's going to be a blowout. And to me, that doesn't make any sort of strategic sense.
Yeah.
So fans are pissed. Joe Klatt said don't be pissed. People don't want early games, but the early games keep happening. I'm with you. As a viewer at home, I don't mind having a nice. I like my big games a little bit later in the day, but I don't mind having games start at 9 o'clock in the morning. Difference for the tailgaters in the season.
Is there going to be a West Coast 9 a.m.er next year?
I don't think so.
I think it's going to. I think somebody's going to get it, and it's going to be wow. Now, who is that? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think if you did it if you did it early in the season, from a TV standpoint, the best place to do it with the sun coming up over Lake Washington would be Seattle.
Make the puppies do that all they want. Just don't bring that to Autzen.
Don't put that on me, Ricky
Don't
Bobby.
don't put that on me, man. Do you shower after losses? Predicting the playoff rankings, and the Cup starts tonight. We'll wrap it up next on The Fan.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well,
You're a loser.
when you're a loser, the
Still
question
unslept?
is, do you deserve soap?
Yes.
You do.
You should still allow yourself. Well,
You sure about that?
If I've learned anything in being over therapy for over a year, you should allow yourself some grace once in a while. It's okay.
Not when you're a loser.
If you stink, you stink.
Not when you're a loser.
Stink.
You can't wash that stink off. You smell like a loser. That's what you smell
Well,
like.
you get in
You're
the
a loser.
shower half the time just so you can talk to yourself.
Just
so.
stand there, let the water fall over your head. This came from Fran Brown, the head coach at Syracuse. Who, does anybody know how they're doing the last couple of weeks? I have not watched much Syracuse football.
I believe they're a meddling, mediocre, around 500 ACC team.
They are Syracuse 6-3. Okay, so now bowl game.
They got Miami in a couple weeks.
They do have Miami in a couple of weeks. They lost this past weekend to Castellanos, which, by the way, Tom Brenneman made a joke about that. He at the start of the broadcast.
I missed it.
He was like, and we got a Castellanos in the game, and he kind of smiled at the camera. So he played into
uncomfortable.
it. Little
Gotta
uncomfortable.
Be honest with you, it's your
So
highlighting.
there's a possibility I'll say something offensive.
So I could say something homophobic.
Last time I said it, I was saying slurs.
So they lost at Boston College. Syracuse did. Fran Brown not happy. Here's what he does after a loss.
Honestly, I got like a ritual. Like when we lose, I ain't even getting a shower till early this morning. I just be mad. I just brush my teeth. But it's like I don't deserve soap. I don't deserve to do all that. I'm just focused on like trying to get back and trying to make sure that our players mentally understand and know that I let them down, that they didn't do it. You know, I just wake up all night, especially when you lose. You like wake up like, dang, it really happened. You know, it really happened that way. So it's just different pieces. And then I just move on. There's a process that I follow every week. Win, lose, or draw. Only thing is, like, my wife, I can't sleep in the bed if we lose because I ain't going to get in the shower for that day. I'm just mad, and I just sit there. I just brush my teeth. That's what I have to do, so y'all won't say my breath stink. But I'm just kind of locked in at certain things, certain ways. I think you gotta earn the right to do certain things. So, winners get washed. You know what I'm saying? I'm a loser. I just kind of waited a little bit.
Can you pull the winners get washed as a drop? That should be in there. I'm having a hard time.
Are you a dirty boy loser or are you a clean boy winner?
No, I'm a clean boy loser when I do lose.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time separating here. I certainly understand the importance of taking care of your dental hygiene.
Brushing your teeth.
I also think your backside's also a pretty instrumental part of not stinking. So, like, how do you separate being able to brush your teeth as a loser, but not your nether regions as a loser?
Yeah.
How are you separating those in your mind?
Well, because imagine, too, they play in a dome.
You get crotch rot in one area.
They got to have crotch. I mean, it's hot. He's not in cold weather. It's a lot of hot weather games for him. The humidity's up. You're in a dome. That's a lot of sweat going on down there.
Yeah.
It's not smelling good in the aftermath. Probably shower.
Do they lose by less than 20 tonight?
Yes. I don't know that they cover 8.5, but it's
in that 15
to
10 range.
I think just out of sheer pride, I have to gamble on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. I have to.
How do you not?
Maybe they surprise me.
T-Wolves could win the cup.
They could win. They could be cup winners.
If somebody's going to care about the cup, Ann Edwards is definitely a dude that wants to win something.
He's a really good basketball player, I've heard.
And if they lose by 20 or more,
they are the third favorite behind the Celtics and Cavaliers to win the cup.
The Warriors are getting some nice little juicy odds.
I might put some money on Golden State.
14-1 on your dubs.
Really?
Same as the Lakers.
That's ridiculous.
Catch the IST fever tonight, folks.
Does he get fired? Is this his last game as the coach?
If they lose by 20 plus?
Let's say they lose by 25 tonight.
What are we waiting for?
Well, I'm not the owner. Or the general manager.
If you were the owner, I feel like my rabbit ears would let me watch basketball games. So see how that signal works tonight. That'll do it for us. Bill Connolly was great. Josh Pate tomorrow. We didn't do our prediction of the rankings. We'll yell about him tomorrow either way. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. At Sprague on Twitter. At 1080 The Fan. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Call us next. Listen to 1080 The Fan.